You got a brand new Jeep.
I'm allergic to mustard. So I was having these rashes.
Oh, no.
And I went to get a scratch test done. And he was like, the only thing, you're not allergic to a tree, not down, not feather, no animal, like nothing except mustard. And I was like, I don't even eat that much mustard.
Oh,
And then he was like, I
goodness.
think your rash is stress related. And so he was right. My rash was stress related.
And mustard was the victim. Like, how did
Mustard?
that even happen?
Oh no, I still eat mustard because I was like, I have no adverse effects from mustard.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to not eat mustard.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
stupid. He told me, he said, in my entire career, I've never, ever had anyone test positive for mustard.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
It's bizarre, right?
I'd rather be allergic to like mayonnaise, not
No,
like,
I couldn't live without mayonnaise.
oh, I could.
Yes, because you're not from the South.
Yeah. You're from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
From Georgia?
Yeah, mayonnaise is like in my vein.
Yeah. Every time Tony puts mayonnaise on, like something in me is like happening. I'm just like, stop. It's like the only thing.
That's so funny. I make this fruit salad. Jeannie, who's a regular guest, I made this fruit salad one year. It's apples, oranges, any kind of hard fruit like pear,
Love that.
raisins. What else do I put in that? You cover it literally
Oh my God.
in mayonnaise and cinnamon.
See, I'm getting
And right,
triggered.
but Jeannie, she just saw fruit salad, so she had no idea. She scooped it out, and she was like, "That is the best thing I've ever had in my entire life. Please tell me what's in it."
Can you taste it? Can you taste the mayonnaise, or does it?
It doesn't really taste like mayonnaise because it does that sweet, salty thing.
Okay,
Because the fruit is sweet, the mayonnaise is kind of savory.
Yep.
She obsesses about that fruit
Wow.
salad. She's
Well,
like,
now
I
I'm
would never have
curious.
thought
Yeah.
that you would put mayonnaise on fruit. And I'm like, oh, in the South,
Yeah,
you put
no,
mayonnaise
you don't.
on
You don't
everything.
think that. Wow.
Mayonnaise is awesome.
See, that's the one thing when I met you, I was like, she's not from here because she's
No.
way too intuitive when it comes to animals.
Oh, ha, that's so funny.
It's not an LA thing for some reason. We just like completely forget instinct when it comes to animals. So right when I met you, I was like, chickens, good like manners with dogs. She knows boundaries. I was like, definitely not from here. And you're like, I'm from the South. I was like, okay.
Makes sense,
a lot-
makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
That is interesting because I have two kids, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia is great with animals, but Isla has that instinct.
Mm-hmm.
She was born that way.
Yep.
She's super relaxed
Mm-hmm.
and she's really intuitive.
Yep.
Like she knows
She has that
exactly.
calm energy for animals.
She does.
Yeah.
It's almost like from a young age she understood animals more than people.
Mm-hmm. That was me for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You were
was
that way too.
Definitely me. Yeah.
that was me too.
I just are we started?
Oh, we already
Yeah, there
started. We
go. No, you
started
always
with
sneak
with
those in.
mustard.
Yeah. Started with mustard. There we go. But that's how I was. I'm Native, Apache, Navajo. I'm all kinds of things, like literally everything in the rainbow. And I'm adopted, so like who knows? You know?
Are you?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, before we get too far.
Okay.
Courtney is a big part of our family in
Yay.
that she walks our dogs
Yes.
3 days a week, sometimes more.
Yep.
But I look forward to seeing you every day
Me
when you
as
come in.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found a kindred spirit
Mm-hmm.
because I think we are similar,
Very similar. Yeah.
at least where animals are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So people have complained to me that I don't explain who my guest is.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be and today
Yeah.
on Wife of the Party.
I'm the crazy dog lady of the party.
You're
That's who
not
I am.
crazy dog lady. I think
Good.
it's awesome that you do something that you enjoy.
Yes. I decided when I was born that this is what I was going to do. I was one of
No.
those weirdos that like, when you asked me when I was young what I was going to be a veterinarian. And up until 24, I did that. That was just a few years ago. I was studying. And then at the last second, I was like, I hate medicine. What am I
Really?
doing? Mm-hmm.
What did you hate about medicine?
I'm just more of a naturalist myself. I don't touch Tylenol. Every time I'm dealing with something, I'm like, I'd rather suffer so my body knows
Yeah.
what to do. I'm just one of those weirdos. I have been since day one. And I think when I was younger, I decided I wanted to work with animals. I've always had a really strong connection with wolves. And I know people are like, you live in LA. Like, what the hell does that even mean? But again,
You're Apache.
I am so in that I was born and my spirit animal, which what normal people say is spirit animal, but as a medicine man, you get a power animal.
Mhm.
And power animals, the difference between power animal and spirit animal is really like a spirit animal can change throughout your lifetime.
Oh.
But a power animal is something that you've pretty much had since birth.
Mhm.
That's like your I don't want to say spirit because it gets confusing, but that's where you get your power. And usually it comes to you in dreams. So ever since I was like very small, and my first few words, I would talk about my dreams, which were all wolves, all animals.
Wow.
And I was that annoying kid at Thanksgiving and dinner, like praying for 20 minutes for like the chicken and the turkey. And so that's how I was. But when I was younger, I wanted to be a vet. And I think when you're young and you ask what you want to do, you're like, oh, animals, a vet. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I never like stopped. I'm one of those like, I totally immerse. I think you even said you're that way as well. Like I get very almost obsessive about something where I'm
immersive.
Like not going to put my head down until I'm there. And that's pretty much what happened my whole life. I was like, work. 23, I was like just about to graduate and I was working in hospitals and I was talking to the guy that I was working with and I was like, you know, I love it here, but it's just not me. Like I don't want to give advice to people that I wouldn't take myself. Like if you come in for an ear infection, I'm going to treat that at home. I'm not going to medication. Yeah. So it was something that I was fighting for a very long time. But finally, I just woke up and I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. If I'm fighting it now, like this is going to be a lifelong thing I'm deciding. Totally. So that's when I went into a different world of not dog walking right away, but the hospitality world of daycares, boarding, grooming, managing, all of that. And that's why I have a lot of experience for my age when it comes to dogs, because I've been in pretty much every walk of life for dogs. And I've just gathered experience. And then I've decided like, no, that's not for me. That's not for me. But it like over time, I've like, wow, I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to dogs and I should probably start sharing it.
Yeah, you should.
That's where I am.
So you started a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called?
Thank Dog It's Friday.
Thank Dog It's Friday. That's adorable.
Is it? And it came because I would say that almost every Friday. I probably said that in some of your report cards for the girls too, but Thank Dog It's Friday. And really just because, I mean, I work all the time anyway, so it's not like, woo, but a lot of my life is gratitude.
Yeah.
Like being thankful. Obviously, every time someone sees me, it's like dog. Like me and dog hair, we just come along, you know, all in the same. But I think in the podcast, I wanted to step outside of being more just dog walking, like dog, but more of like, what does the person play a role in their dog? And I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of this today, but I know that your listeners are very warmed up to this as well. But like triggers, anxiety, like all of the things that we deal with on a daily basis. And then we see our dog like acting neurotic. We're like, what's wrong with my dog? It's like, well, your dog's a direct reflection of you, my friend. Like,
yeah, right.
That's exactly what it is. And that's really where the podcast came in. It's a mixture of all of that, managing energies, talking about mindset and how your mindset and your energy plays a role in your dog and your kids as well. So
totally,
that's really where my new venture is, because it's exciting to like put energy and mindset, which I'm really into the dog world, because it's the perfect way to teach people like how to be self-aware. And I'm almost too self-aware, like at a fault.
I hear you, lady. Yeah. Sometimes it's detrimental to be too self-aware.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
It's exhausting. And sometimes, and to me, sometimes being too self-aware prevents you from doing some things that you could probably learn or grow from.
Yes.
Because you go, well, I know that's not going to work out for me, so I'm not going to do that. Or if you would really just do that, sometimes there's a lesson in there that you might need.
Yep.
I know that I'm that way, where I sometimes will not do things that I probably should.
Definitely. Or you just get so overwhelmed by all of the things because you're like too self-aware, where you're just like, which one do I start with? And then you just don't do any of them.
Yes.
Which I see a lot of the time for a lot of different ways of life. But in that one specifically, like for me, my brain doesn't stop. I'm constantly like thinking and working and just all of the things in my head. And then my boyfriend is just so calm and go with the flow. And I'm like, I want your brain, but then I don't at the same time. Like, which one is it?
I feel that way too.
So
I feel that way too. My brain is never stops.
Yeah.
Ever. And then until I close my eyes at night, and then I am dead to the world until I wake up. I don't even dream anymore. Or I don't remember. I haven't remembered any dreams.
Yes.
Maybe like 3 a year.
Oh, good.
Other than that,
I've been that way as well. I used to be a huge dreamer. Now the ones that come through, I'm like, I better remember that.
I know. I'm that way too, because when they come through, like this week, I dreamt about my grandfather. I was really close to my grandfather. He raised cattle for beef.
Oh, so nice.
And so I would go to the sale barn with him. I don't know what they call it out here, but in the South, where you auction cattle is called a sale barn.
I have a lot to learn about that. I pretend like I live on a farm, but I
you
don't.
do? Well, I would go to the sale barn with him, and he would keep orange Tic Tacs in his overall pocket.
No way.
And I just remember sitting, in my dream, I was sitting with him at the sale barn, watching the cows come through the auction and digging the Tic Tacs out of his pocket.
Oh,
and I woke up and I was like, that was a little present.
Yeah.
That was a little present
nice.
for me to remember my pop.
And then you start to think too, like, well, I mean, at least I do, because my brain's never going to shut the fuck up. But you start to think like, well, what is going on in my life where I was supposed to get that dream, or I was supposed to have some kind of message or like reminder to be calm, or whatever that came for. That's where I go to when I don't remember anything. I'm lucky because the dreams that I have are like, I've realized now that I get warnings. I'm going to sound so woo-woo, but I don't tell a lot of people this, but mine as well now.
Right,
but
right.
I think I may have told you when we were talking about that energy healer, how woo-woo I am. But
no, I'm totally woo-woo.
Good.
You sit next to me, you want some woo-woo, because I'm all about the woo-woo. I got the crystals in my house.
Yeah, there we go.
The healer comes to clean me. The healer, Eva, is coming Friday to clear our new house.
Oh my God.
Before we start any construction on it, I was like, I need you to come and make sure everything's clean.
She did that to my house.
She did?
Oh my God, the story she told me about my house, I can't even look at it the same anymore.
No.
It's like a whole other conversation.
Right? We should do another
We
podcast
should.
about that experience, because it was amazing.
It was incredible. And I've told a lot of people, and they've all like, come to my house. But we had some crazy things happen at my house that she was like, right away, the second she stepped in, she's like, you need to know this. I was like, but do I? Do I need to know?
I'm super self-aware.
Yeah.
So if you tell me this
is not going to go away.
I will not forget it.
Meanwhile, Tony, like 2 days later, I'm like, remember when he's like, oh, did she say that? And I'm like,
what?
The whole time, like. But what I realize now is I used to have crazy dreams, like almost to the point where I would wake up and I would think it was real. Like I would know it was a dream, but it felt so real. But now I have dreams of like things that happen. Like one time my dog got loose, and we have chickens and bunnies and guinea pigs, and the chickens were out. And I had a dream 2 days before that exact thing happened. But in my mind, I was like, that's not going to happen. Like it's something else. Yeah. And I'm starting to realize like I'm getting a lot more of those, and they're scaring the shit out of me, because now I'm like, well, what's real?
Yeah. And when's that going to happen?
Yeah.
When's that going to happen?
But it's only for animals. It's not like normal. It's not like if it's for me, that's going to help me if I'm going to go make a purchase at a store.
Right.
Nothing. But
Right,
if it's for an animal, comes on through. And that's what brings it back to the wolves and the dreams. And that's kind of how I've lived my life. And that's where I started being dog obsessed. I
With
started Dog Squad intentionally because I was like, I could help with cats and other animals, which we do, but I know dogs.
Right.
So that's why we started Dog Squad.
I know. Dog Squad's awesome.
Thank you.
So the thing about dogs, I grew up with dogs only being outdoor animals. I never had an indoor dog until we got Mona. We got Mona, let's see, Isla's 13. So we got Mona 11 years ago, and Mona was a rescue. She was at least 2, but not yet 3, the vet thought when we got her.
Girl.
She had no hair from the neck down.
Aww.
She was 5 pounds underweight at the
Never
time.
Again.
Never again. Now we call her the meatloaf.
Yeah.
She had recently had not her first litter of puppies.
Oh, so she was definitely used for that.
She was used for that.
Yeah.
She's an adorable dog. So I could understand why someone
Yep.
would want to make puppies of her, because she's adorable. She had parasites, ear mites, obviously fleas. She was just a disaster.
Yeah.
And she was really really a little sad sack. But she was my first indoor dog. She was potty trained when I got her.
Did you decide that because of her background and what she was doing? Or is it more you got her and you knew she was going to be an indoor dog? Because I'm always curious to know what that transition is for dog parents.
Well, we lived in an apartment, so
there's
we
no
had no
choice.
choice.
Yeah,
And Isla wrote a letter to Santa. It said, "Dear Santa, bring dog." That's all it said. Again,
that's all that's needed.
"Dear Santa, bring dog." Now we already had.
So good.
I know, right?
That's so good.
We already had the cat. We got the cat when Isla was just over a year.
Little Gus Gus, the
Little
pimp.
Gus
He's
Gus.
been around
He
since
is the
day
pimp.
one.
He has.
Aww.
He's awesome. Best cat that's ever lived.
He is.
He's like a dog.
So
You know he
cute.
plays fetch?
What? What?
Yes.
Oh, you shouldn't have told me that.
He won't play fetch when the dogs are around, because when the dogs are around, they want to play fetch.
Yep.
And they're enormous. So
my
he won't do it. I have to
gosh.
go in my room and close the door. And he only plays fetch with the binder clip.
Oh, he's hilarious.
I'll throw the binder clip and he goes bananas.
He's hilarious.
Picks it up and will bring it back to me and drop it. And I'll throw it again. He'll do that for hours.
I fell in love with him when I saw his cup. His one
Yes,
cup.
yes.
That's when I knew it was over. I was just like, you, my man.
I
You.
know, right? He also a street animal.
He's
He
a-
was
A little.
he was about 5 months old when we adopted him.
Oh.
And we adopted him at like an adoptive pet day at a Petco.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't had a cat for like a year, maybe a year. We had a cat. I had a cat before I met Bert, who's allergic to cats.
Oh, he is.
Yes. And I was like, you got me, you're going to have the cat.
Mm-hmm.
So he took allergy medication and got kind of
Nice.
immune to it, sort of. Not really, but
He's
like
a keeper.
he's better. Yes, he's a keeper. But Mufasa passed away when Isla was 2 weeks old. He had feline leukemia,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a carrier. He lived to be 8, which was
Wow,
incredible.
That's long. Yeah.
But like she was born and he plummeted, and we had to put him down 2 weeks after she was born. So I hadn't had a cat for
Mhm.
about a year and change, and Bert traveled so much. I was like, Mama needs a cat. I
Yep.
got to have a cat. I need
Mhm.
somebody that sits on the couch with me and watches TV.
Yep.
I'd never had an indoor dog, so I
Mhm.
didn't have that
So that
experience.
was your initial reaction of like, I need that, but it was the cat. That
Yeah,
you
because I'd always had a
associated that.
cat.
Yep.
I got my first
Mhm.
cat when I was 5,
Oh, wow.
and I've always had a cat. I am an only child.
Mhm.
My parents
I never
split
knew
up.
that.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
no idea.
I'm an only child. My parents divorced when I was 7.
You're so well rounded for an only child.
It's because I'm the parent of both my
That
parents.
makes sense. Yeah.
I parented both of them. Still do.
Makes sense. Yep.
Sometimes. But I had this cat that was my mom moved me into the predominantly gay community in
Mhm.
Atlanta because she thought that'd be a really safe place for a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of smart.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of kids in the gay community
Yeah.
in the 70s. So I was with my cat. My cat and I were, his
You
name
guys
was
were
Fatty.
buds, yeah.
We were really close. And he lived 18 years. So I had him a long
Wow.
time. So I've always had cats. That's
Mhm.
my critter because my
Mhm.
mother was not going to deal with a dog.
Yep.
And my dad's dogs were all outdoor dogs, or we had border collies that ran cattle. So, and you can't
Love
play with
border
them.
collies,
You know, they're work dogs. Like they
Mhm.
live in a pen and they come out to work and they go back in and you can play with them,
Wow.
which I didn't like because
Mhm.
I wanted to play with them. And then we had Labradors and whatever that just lived in the yard. So it never occurred to me to get a dog. So Mona write, dear Santa, bring dog. And we
I
started
love
looking
that.
for a dog. And I'm like, well,
Mhm.
I'm a rescue person.
Yep.
We rescued the cat.
It's the only way to go.
I'm going to rescue the dog. And we just looked forever and never found a dog. So Isla's 2.5. This is right after Christmas. And she is in dance class up the
Mhm.
street, a block away. So we go outside and Mona and the person who's fostering her come walking down the sidewalk. And Mona stops in front of Isla and puts her 2 paws on Isla's chest and doesn't knock her
No.
down.
Oh.
And I went, oh, what a cute dog. No hair on this dog. She looks like a train wreck, right? And I go, what a sweet dog. And the woman who was fostering her said, she is the sweetest dog. She is so sweet. And I'm like, oh, we're looking for a dog. And she went, well, she's up for adoption.
She found you.
And I went, okay, I have to think about it because I thought Bert is not going to want this dog. This dog looks like a trash heap. He's going to be like, pass.
Yeah.
So we went on to dance class. And the next day we were walking to Trader Joe's.
No.
Here comes Mona.
I never
wagging
known
her
this story. How
tail.
sweet.
Puts her paws on Isla again. And I
Wow.
go, interesting. 2 days in a row. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I still need to talk to Bert about it. Let me talk to Bert. 3rd day in a row.
Oh my gosh.
We're going out again. And here comes Mona.
She
and I was
picked
like,
Isla. She picked
what?
her.
So the woman and I are chatting who was fostering her. And she said, if you're unsure, I have to go out of town for a week. Why don't you just keep her for the week? And then
That's
I'll take her
smart.
back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. So Bert's on the road. He comes home to this dog. And he's like, what the hell is this? I was like, well, we're just helping the woman down the street. She just needs us to foster for like a week and then we'll give her back. I promise.
That's so good.
After one day, Bert was like, this dog is not going home.
Oh,
She's not going home. This is her home.
it.
And I was like, okay, good. Thank God.
This is so her home.
Yes.
Yeah.
She totally picked
Mona.
Isla. She did
Mhm.
that to Isla
Yep.
every time.
Yep.
So we kept her name. She came with the name Mona.
Mona.
We just increased it to Monita Malucci, the world's greatest poochie, which is her full name. And she's been an awesome, amazing dog. She's been really sweet. However, she came with some serious separation anxiety.
I remember you saying that. She's like a
Yes,
pack dog
she's a pack
naturally,
dog.
right?
Yes. Yes. So
And
much you
that's where-
learn from having dogs, right?
Yes.
So for people listening who may have this same problem, we would crate Mona when we would leave and she would go bananas.
Yeah.
She would destroy everything in the crate and she was barking like, I don't even think she drew breath the whole time we were gone. So we're like, well, that doesn't work. So we tried leaving her in like a confined space in the house and she destroyed everything in that confined space. She ripped down our curtains. She chewed handles off of luggage. She ate shoes. It was so anxiety producing.
And when you guys were home,
no problem.
totally fine.
Completely fine.
You know, we're seeing so much separation anxiety like skyrocket now. It's definitely something I want to chat about next. It is just
I wonder why.
skyrocketing. I know. I think it's more anxiety in the people.
Probably.
Honestly. Like, because getting back to that direct reflection, I'm not surprised with being in your house after a while. And obviously, you know, you guys got Priscilla, but she came to the energy of the house, which is so calm.
Right.
The energy in your house is just incredible. And I wonder if that was
thanks.
helpful. But nowadays, the separation anxiety in the house is like, it's crazy that so many people now, before it was just like one or two people I would meet that were like, oh, you need to come here because my dog is never allowed to be left alone. And now it's almost like a majority of the calls that I get.
Really?
It is
about separation.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about it a lot of like, what are the similarities between like, you know, whether it be the, what they do on a daily basis, whether it be the energy of the family. I'm trying to think like, what are the similarities of the clients that I'm going to visit? But it's just crazy because before when I first started, it was just one or two dogs here or there that really struggled with what Mona was struggling with in the beginning. And then it would kind of like shake off.
Right.
But now it's like almost every dog I meet has like some layer of separation anxiety, whether it's from the other dog that they are really attached to or the parent.
Right.
It's just really interesting.
That is really interesting. I wonder too what it is. Well, I know what I learned from Mona is when we took her to the trainer asked me about her background and I knew that she lived in a backyard with like 8 other dogs until she was taken into this rescue program. Yeah. Clearly she needed to be removed from that home. She was terribly treated. But the trainer very wisely said, oh, she's a pack dog.
Yep.
You're not going to fix this unless you get her another dog. And the day Priscilla showed up, all of it stopped.
Done.
All of it stopped.
Oh my
Even with Priscilla, you know, as a puppy, we kept her. I never crated Priscilla, but I put her in like a corral in my kitchen.
Kingdom is what I call it.
Is it
a little
kingdom?
Playpen kingdom.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what I like to say.
Yes, she had her kingdom.
Yes.
And Mona was okay with that.
She was fine. It
totally
wasn't like
fine.
So crazy.
She didn't need to be with her. She just needed her to be, she needed another dog.
Yes.
So I don't know that Mona would have chosen that large of a dog.
Yeah.
I think Mona would have chosen
I get the idea, Mom, but maybe,
yeah.
Could
you have like not supersized the dog?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking right when you guys were saying about getting Izzy. I was just like, hell yes, totally on board because you know I love Mastiffs.
Yeah.
But I was like, Mona is probably like, what the fuck, Mom? Like,
yes, Mona and Gus.
You have 2. Yeah, exactly. You have 2 options.
Yes, they're both like middle fingering us.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Seriously? You know what we went through with the first one.
Hilarious.
Yes, it is hilarious. But I wonder, you know, what I learned from that one comment was to start thinking about a dog. This sounds really stupid. Like a dog.
Yeah. No, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. This is something that I say all the time. Like, even for us, don't think like a human when it comes to the dogs. 100% put yourself into that dog's mindset. 100%.
Not just the mindset, But what we know about dogs, not that they're
Mhm.
wild dogs anymore, but I think a dog is similar enough to a wolf
Yeah.
that you can say, okay, they live in packs.
Mhm.
They have a den.
Mhm.
This is what they eat. This is how they behave. This is
Yep.
what this means. This is how they protect their territory.
Mhm.
So if you start thinking, well, this is how this critter is wired,
Yep.
then you can adjust your expectations
Mhm.
and you can adjust like how they live in their day to day.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
That's what that one comment did. And I went,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I need to think about this
Mhm.
from that perspective.
Yep.
Like we as humans are tribal animals. We are not meant to be singular.
Mhm.
We're so singular now with so much social media where you're in a room by
So-
yourself. It's no wonder we have so much anxiety.
Yep.
Because we're not meant to function that way. We're
Mhm.
meant to go to church and have, dinner on the grounds.
Yep.
Whether you're religious or not, you're that social aspect of going
Mhm.
to church, which is what people did 50 years ago all the time,
Yep.
is missing now. Wherever you recreate it is up to you. But I think it's
Mhm.
essential to have people because that's the nature of the beast.
Yes.
So same with dogs.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm. Even for me, just to speak for myself, when I first started Dog Squad, which is the reason why I started it, is I worked at a daycare before I started Dog Squad. And I would see that all of the dogs that would come in for just like, basic stuff, they had a lot more anxiety. But the dogs that came in for daycare on a regular basis, they were just happy-go-lucky,
Yeah.
sniffing butts,
Yeah.
scratch me, no cares in the world.
Right.
And I started to realize how important that pack mentality was
Mhm.
just for even a small amount of the day. The dogs were so much more balanced.
Right.
They felt more confident in who they were because they had other dogs, not only who understand them, but who they could dog around with.
Yeah.
We can only give our dogs so much.
Yeah.
And that's the number one thing that I tell, the people that are reaching out to me that are struggling with their dog with separation anxiety. Get them in the pack.
Right.
As you know, we do pack hikes every single day. Just as we speak, we have probably 16 dogs going out with 2 of my walkers right now. And half of those dogs are dogs with separation anxiety.
No.
And the number one thing I always tell people is you don't want to get your dog adjusted to being by themselves, especially if you can't just get another dog. Say that's not in the works for you
Right.
this year or whatever. If you can't get another dog, don't try and make your dog happy with being home alone. Instead, show them how exciting it could be when they aren't home. Show them, instead of saying, okay, I want you to be here, be calm, stay in your crate or your kingdom, or, even if they have free range, like stay here and be happy or just relax. That's fine. We can get the dog to do that with training and this and that. But if you got your dog to realize that not only when I leave, are you going to have someone who's not me, but just as fun, take you out with the group of dogs and you're going to have a blast.
Right.
That type of interaction, mental stimulation, exercise, all of that is really going to make your dog excited when you leave.
Right.
He's not going to be like, oh shit, mom's leaving again. What am I going to do? I'm going
Right.
to go tear up the couch. I'm going to they're just looking for things to get that pent up energy.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you make it something that's more exciting, it doesn't even have to be someone you're paying. Even if it's a friend who has a dog down the street and you say, hey, can you do Thursdays while I'll do Tuesdays?
Right.
I'll take the dogs then. And it's the same thing for kids.
Yeah.
It's that pent up energy. If all of the sudden they have all of this energy and then you leave them, they don't
Right.
know what to do with themselves. And for us, we treat our dogs like our kids and we almost don't know how to be around the house or do things without the dog there.
Mhm.
So when the dog leaves, they have already understood the pack mentality as follow the human around.
Uh-huh.
Do all the things the human is doing. Go to the bathroom with the human. Go garden with everything the human does. The dog is following around.
Yeah.
And there's little things that we can do on a daily basis, like making your dog stay on a couch or stay on their bed, or if you're out here gardening, have them stay wherever they are. Just that's going to burn so much mental energy, but it's also going to make them so confident in their own skin without you.
Right.
So when you do leave, not only are they oh my God, this is the first time I'm alone, but they could be maybe excited for someone to come visit or someone to pick them up and take them out. Because we always think like a human, okay, if I just give the dog everything he needs, training, exercise, a Kong, a bully stick, then he's good. But at the end of the day, that one, the person said, she just needs a pack. She just needs, and it's as simple as that, is just thinking, what can we actually do if we were in this situation for the dog? Would we want to just go through the training and work on it, the inner work? Or would we want to substitute that with fun? Or substitute that with someone else who does have better energy, like another dog, or more confident energy, like Priscilla came in and she's a pupper. She's like, oh, I'm just going to puppy around.
Yep.
So she gave that confident energy where she's kind of naively confident as a puppy.
Yes.
Where most of the time they don't know what to be scared of, or they don't come with separation anxiety until they're taught like behaviors that encourage that anxiety. But it's as simple as that, as pack mentality, you know, send her with another dog who is confident, or bring in a dog in the house. And that energy, which is what dogs speak with, it's not anything else other than energy. That energy is going to, even if she's not in that room, like you said, Priscilla was in her own little area, it's going to make her feel confident just because of the energy. And I think with us, we're so, especially with puppies, we bring in a puppy when we're going through a chaotic season, whether that's
which is all the time.
All the time.
When you're ever like, now's the time for a puppy. Never.
Never. That's right. And it's like when you bring in a puppy, it's so easy to blame all your problems on that puppy. It is so easy because the puppy can't say, hey, that wasn't me. That was you. Like the puppy can't do that.
Well, not only that, the puppy, I think people forget a puppy's a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes.
A toddler shits its pants on the reg.
And it takes a while.
Yes. And
to learn that.
Some kids potty train like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids, it takes 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to remember that with a puppy because you go, I don't understand. Why do you want to shit in my house?
I'm training them.
I'm training.
I just took them out.
What's wrong with you? It's really easy. And the chewing of your personal property. They're teething like a toddler.
Yep.
So what can you do to facilitate the teething?
Yes.
Instead of stopping the chewing, you have to
redirect
show them what to chew that's okay.
Yep.
You can chew this. You can have a bully stick. You can have with her, she loves ice cubes.
Yep.
She every time someone goes to the to get ice out
Now's
of the
my
door,
time.
she's like ice every time. That dog loves
That's
ice.
so
Priscilla was
cute.
the same, and then
Yep.
when Priscilla stopped teething, she had no interest in ice.
Because the ice is one of the best things. I just put that out in my last podcast. Ice is the easiest way. I mean, you barely even have to spend a penny on it. And it helps their gums. When they're teething, it really relieves that. But it's just so funny when you find something like that, like the ice, and you just like push it and then the dog comes, and then when you're trying to train your dog to recall and you're like, why isn't the dog coming? But an ice chip, like the noise of that is just like, oh, that's my call.
Yeah, right. It's very Pavlovian.
Yeah.
That ice, Bert, every time Bert touches the ice, I go, Pavlov.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? I'm like, Pavlov, he fed the dog and the dog drools and then you stop doing it, it still drools. Yeah. Whatever. But I think here's something that I find interesting. When there's an aggression, I don't understand people, like I'm walking my dog. I'm clearly holding my dog close to me. And that person lets their dog run all over my dog.
And they're like, they're friendly. Don't worry. I'm like, who's to say our dog is?
Exactly.
One.
A. B. Almost every small dog that meets Priscilla becomes aggressive with Priscilla, which causes Priscilla to aggress back.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's Priscilla's fault.
It's Priscilla's fault.
Yeah.
When my dog's on a leash, your dog's not on a leash. We're on a public street. Come on.
There needs to be like a real, like some kind of way to teach people manners when it comes to that. Because
absolutely.
Even when we're on pack hikes and we're with a lot of dogs, someone just 2 weeks ago came up to us from behind, didn't give me one word. I didn't even know they were there. And none of the dogs, they were just doing their own thing. And usually the dogs will alert if someone's close. Just came up and tried to touch a butt.
What?
And I turned around, and usually I'm so nice. I'm like, I'm just too nice sometimes. But I just turned around and I was like, don't touch a butt unless you want to get bit. That's it. Like, simple as that. And they were with the group, and the group started laughing. And I was like, this is really a moment where I could educate some people.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, but can I do it without losing my shit?
Right? No.
I don't know. So I took a breath, and we were walking along them. And the whole time they were just talking and high pitched to the whole, and they were clearly like working up my pack. And in the moment I was getting worked up. I was like, okay, I need to calm down. My energy is everything. Like, you could react, to people. Like how people do things to you is one thing, but how you react to them,
Totally.
that's the only thing that you're in control of.
That's right.
So I was just like, okay, take a breath, breathe in, breathe out. And I said at the end, another person tried to come up and pet one of the dogs, the golden, and the chihuahuas were clearly like gonna attack them because like 3 chihuahuas of the pack.
There's 3 chihuahuas.
3 chihuahuas, and they don't let anything go. You know, chihuahuas.
No, chihuahuas are something else, aren't they? I think the smaller the dog, the bigger the bravado,
they get.
right?
Oh, yeah. So they were just so mad, the chihuahuas. And the girl just thought it was the cutest thing. She's like, oh, what do they have to say? And went to go pet on top of the head. And I was just like, okay, I'm so sorry if I'm coming off as frustrated. But if you're going to pet anyone's dog, first ask. Don't even walk up to them first. Just say, hey, would you mind if I meet your dog or something like that? And then 2, if you're going to pet a dog, please do it under the chin. That is the number one mistake I see people make all of the time is they always go on top of the head. And the number one thing that says to the dog is you're dominating me.
Yes.
Not only that, but they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So if they're a dog who's fearful, they might get scared. They may lunge, they may bite, they might do something that's like, what's this scary hand lunging over me, this person hovering over to me? But as the person in it, it's just like, oh, this is a cute dog. Let me get to their level. They don't really see it as that. And that's the thing that I see is the problem because the parents react that way to dogs and then their kids see that.
Right.
And then the kids see a dog when the parents aren't around or when the parents aren't paying attention and the kid comes and literally does the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's the dog's fault if the dog bites them or does
Right.
something where there should be some kind of lesson learned or course or something where people know how to react to stranger dogs.
Right.
And that way they could teach their kids as well. Because we see it all the time with kids running up and they're petting the dog and they're like, can I pet your dog?
Well, you already
are, my friend. Yeah.
Too late. It is interesting because like you said in the very beginning, it's so few people have a natural instinct for animals.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have that natural instinct, right, then you are completely oblivious to the cues the dog is giving you.
Exactly.
Right? So you're not reading the dog's cues to say, oh, hair's standing up. Maybe I should not go there. You know, or it doesn't even have to be that drastic. You can tell by a way the stillness of a dog. Yeah, how still they get.
That's the number one thing that you can see. Is,
yes.
And so many people don't know that. That's why right when I met you, I was like, she's a different one.
I am a different one for sure. Not just for that reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, animals are much easier to read than people.
Yes.
Because they don't have an agenda. There's nothing hiding. If you just pay attention,
yep,
you know everything that's going on.
And it's kind of the same overall for all dogs with how if they get stiff or if they like move their face, but they don't move their face, but their eyes are moving around. Like little things like that are all common in dogs. But for people, you kind of have to know, is it a good day for them? Like you have to know them personally to know how to react to them.
Right.
But for dogs, it's like if you get a good idea of dog behavior and how they interact, the best way to do it, go to a dog park and watch the puppy of the park interact with everyone there.
Right.
How does the senior dog react to him? How
Right.
does the happy-go-lucky dog react to him? Like that is the best way because if a senior dog doesn't want to be talked to or he doesn't want the puppy to deal with him at all, he's going to do that in a growl or which your trainer just recently talked the growl or with energy or a quick lunge. And it's like matter of fact, quick. It's not like, hey, stop.
Right.
Hey, stop. Hey, I told you to stop. Didn't we talk about this?
True. Very true.
We say it over and over again, very repetitive. But if you see a dog, it's like one quick nip, not hurting them, but one quick reminder of like, hey, you're not supposed to do that. And then it's done. The dog moves on to whatever else they want to do.
It's quick, strong, direct, very clear.
Yes,
that's
very
something
clear.
I am teaching my kids. They say no a lot.
Yeah.
And I say, the dog doesn't know what you mean when you say no. You have to say off.
Yep.
Down.
Yes.
Sit. Stay. Go lay down, which is a 3-word.
Yep.
But they know go lay down means
no mouth.
You're in trouble. Yeah. No biting. No bite. No bite. If you say that, then you're teaching them something. And you have to say it in that moment. You know, you can't say no bite when they're not biting. You have to say no bite when they're biting because they're a puppy and they nip and that's what they do to play. And But if you just say no, she doesn't know what you're saying.
Yep.
You have to make it specific. Dogs are really smart.
So smart.
So, and maybe people don't think that they understand like that.
Yeah.
But they do.
They
I think
do.
a lot of animals do. My chickens have commands. I call my chickens a certain word and they do what I ask.
Our dogs haven't been able to teach us a command. We can't tell shit what they're saying.
Right.
But
True.
they could pick up several things. I mean, I think I don't even know the exact number, but there's like 300 and something, I believe, that every dog could catch. Yeah.
I didn't
if
know
we
that.
say sit, down, off. But what you just said is an amazing point because so many people like overuse leave it. They'll use leave it for everything, for things on the couch, for a candy they were supposed to pick up, for a sock, they're like everything, something on the floor when you're out on a walk. If they're biting someone, leave it. But if you were to have one command for almost each behavior,
6 or 8 different
just
things.
like you were saying, the dog is going to have he's going to be very clear what he wants.
Right.
You know, there's not going to be any kind of room. Oh, what does she want from me? Like, what can I get away with? It's no biting. That's what she wants.
Right.
No biting. And if you use it repetitively, we have to think, like if we say, no, leave it. Buster. What are they hearing? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
blah, blah.
Same thing
blah,
over and over.
blah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that because I only use leave it on a walk.
Yep.
When I don't want them to pick something up.
Perfect.
And when one dog is pooping and the other one wants to keep walking, I say, hold up. And that's the only time I use that command.
Yep.
So you're right. I hadn't really thought about that specifically, but I use off for when they're jumping up on something.
Yep.
Only. So
then down is the couch.
Down means down for my dogs is like lay down.
Lay down. Okay.
Yeah, but it is for that specific one activity. I hadn't really thought about that, about using leave it for multiple things and how confusing that would be, I guess, in my instinctive world. I mean, I wonder from watching my grandfather train border collies to herd cattle, I wonder if I understood they had one command for each activity.
Yeah.
So he would, and they were noises. They weren't even words.
Exactly. That works as well.
Yes. He would use a noise for left, right, back,
So
in the
incredible.
barn. He would just chirp. And these dogs would get those cows wherever he wanted them. He would put them wherever. But maybe I just picked it up from watching him work with his dogs.
Yeah.
But I just thought, if I say stay for when one dog's pooping and the other one's not, and I say stay for sitting at the door waiting for someone to come in the house, and I say stay, then
if you think about it,
it's
the
too
dog has to
confusing.
think for a second. Okay, what does that mean?
yes.
Like, how does that apply right now?
Right.
So if that's the case, we want to make it as easy as possible.
Right.
And the number one thing I also teach is our energy is going to be we're going to get what we want way quicker because dogs can learn commands. They can do this. They could speak our language.
Yeah.
But the best thing for us to do is really to speak their language, and that's through energy. So a lot of the times we think that we're calm and assertive and we're asking our dog to do something, and then our energy is neurotic. We're
Right.
just all chaos because we're late for pickup. We have to get lunches going. There's so many things that are happening. And then all of the sudden you need to have a little moment with your dog where you can't give in to something because you're in the middle of training. So if he's gnawing at the rug, you can't just like let it go that one time. You have to be calm and assertive and continue on with the training. But what happens is if you're still in that state of like chaos in the inside, your dog is picking up the chaos.
Right.
He's not picking up the word you're saying. I always say action or energy speaks louder than words and actions. I say it all the time. So if you aren't aware of your energy when same thing with your kids. If you're trying to calmly say something to your kids, but inside you're like pissed that they're doing something, they're going to know that you're pissed.
Totally.
No matter how I'm talking really soft right now.
No.
Like they're going to know. It's the same thing with dogs. Like you can't fool a dog. They read energy. That's how they communicate with each other. So I think that's the number one thing is even if you don't want to say words, a quick like I use snaps in my house a lot. Like if my dogs are in the kitchen, that's a rule for me. Can't be in the kitchen. Like don't be if they try and come into the kitchen and then sit there and watch me cook, I'm like, snap. And they know, like they'll just go run to the couch. And because my energy behind that, I could say, inside or go or whatever command that I have. Inside is their area for the kingdom. I could say inside and immediately they'll go. But another problem with that is some people are like, hey, Knuckles, go inside. I told you to go inside. And it's like this whole sentence, and the energy behind it is just frustrated and like, I told you this. And then the dog is just not seeing what you want. And you're like, well, why am I not getting what I want? It's because your energy is telling the dog what you want, and your energy is actually scaring your dog.
It's the energy, and it's also the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a paragraph or a command. You need 1, 2 words.
1 to 2 words.
The one, what's my 3-word one? I have one that's 3 words, and that's the longest one I have. It's, I don't remember. I just said it.
You did, yeah.
But no.
Go lay down.
Go lay down.
Go lay down.
Go lay down is my biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
But I could probably say lay down.
Mm-hmm.
But go lay down means go to your bed.
Yeah.
Like they know that, or Priscilla does. Izzy doesn't quite have it yet.
She's learning. She's learning.
a WIP, a work in progress, that one. But I think too, to go along with what you're saying about energy, for me, it's almost, I feel the most important part of the way I work with my dogs is my tone of voice.
Yes, 100%.
My tone of voice is everything. And the tone of voice really, when the trainer that I just worked with.
I really liked that point they brought. I'm glad you were bringing this up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
He said all training should be positive. That's a good job. Let's go pee-pee. Let's go pee-pee outside. You did a good job outside. Good job. Everything really high-pitched, really positive, which can be exhausting.
So hard.
I'm so exhausted by the high pitch. I'm the best mommy kindergarten teacher voice I have to do, but it is really effective.
Yes.
So you, in the moment, you have to say, well, do I want something to be effective or do I want to be tired?
Exactly.
No, you want it to be effective, especially when you have a puppy and you're teaching them. So that if I use that really high pitched voice 95% of the time, when I finally go, Izzy, no.
She's like, oh shit. Yeah.
All ears.
Yeah.
Now he took it a step further and said I should growl.
Yeah.
Like, huh.
I tried
Izzy.
that.
I've tried it too. It works with Priscilla.
It does.
It does not work with Izzy.
The problem is that Tony laughs. So it's like,
You're
like I'm
sabotaged.
just trying to growl over here.
He
And I hear in the other room laughing, and I'm like, God damn it. So I start laughing. I'm like, how am I supposed to be calm assertive if this is like a joke?
You're screwing with my energy, Tony. That's
and I'll
funny.
try and growl. And now it's like a joke. The other day I was in the yard, and one of the dogs, the bunnies, my bunnies are just driving me crazy. They're too smart. They keep escaping.
Talk about smart. Bunnies are smart.
They are so smart. And I grew up with bunnies. That's
You
what
did?
I had. I had one rabbit because I didn't have any pets. I grew up with my grandma, and we had an apartment that was no pets. And I was like, please let me get a rabbit. And she's like, okay. I was like, yes. So I had a bunny, and he lived 13 years.
That's
and bunnies
a long
usually
time.
Don't
No, they
live
do
that long.
not.
I got him on. I saved all my money, all my allowance. Got him on Easter, and he passed away on Easter 13 years later. My Maddie. Yeah. So I grew up with rabbits, and he was chill. But obviously my grandma did most of the work, probably.
Yeah, for a time, probably.
That's usually how it goes. But now my rabbits are driving me crazy. But just yesterday, to get back to it, one of my rabbits were loose, and because they have their own yard, and they were in the dog yard, and they know they're not supposed to be, but they were loose, and they were like, catch me, dogs. And one of the dogs was like, you know, Knuckles. He lived up to his name. He's a knucklehead. He was like, oh, hey, look, fun.
A prey.
Yeah,
Right.
I get to chase something.
Right.
And immediately, I don't even remember where I was going, but immediately I said, "Shh," and he stopped and was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, it wasn't enough for him to be like, oh, I have to go inside. But
Right.
that noise like stopped him in
It's
his
an
track.
interrupter.
Yeah. And he was just like, okay, I'm not supposed to be doing this. And I saw the process in his mind where he was like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Yeah.
And so many people just stop there.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, he listened, he's good.
He
And then
did.
they reward that energy. But
Right.
we can't reward until he turns his ass around and goes back in his area. So I
That's
said,
right.
inside. And he like fought it for a second. He was like, oh. And then he like put his head down. It's like, okay, I'll go
Fine.
inside.
I
So he
guess you
trotted
control my
inside.
food.
Yeah. So he trotted inside, and I was just like, wow. And most times, and I thought about your trainer too, because my voice, when you told me that, where he was just like, everything you do, respond. Like, even if you correct, turn your voice around and
Yeah,
respond. And that
that's
was
right.
such a good reminder, because I started like that. And then 5 dogs later,
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't even realize like how your tone, how used to being not aggressive, but just like, yeah, more aggressive than you need to be in your commands.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it until you get that reminder. And that was the reminder for me, where I was like, usually I'd be like, hey, like, "Shh." And that time I was like, "Shh."
Come on
Inside. And then right when he did,
Right.
I was just like, that's a good boy, Bubs. Wow, look
Yeah,
at that.
yeah,
We
yeah.
still have all of our rabbits here. Like,
Yeah, because they
just
live for that, don't they?
live. But instead, if I were to be like, I told you not to go outside and having this whole conversation with my energy upset that he got out in the first place, then he thinks, oh, I did something wrong. Was I
Right.
not supposed to come back inside?
That's right.
And that's that same thing of like your energy and the way that you speak. That was such a good reminder I like thought about that for weeks after you told me. I was just like, wow, I really started off that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And then all of the sudden, like I get home and like I take care of like 60 plus animals a day.
Which is
So
crazy.
by the time I get home, I have 20 plus of my own.
Right.
So when I do get home, I'm like, oh, I got to be very aware of my energy right now.
Right.
And for people that work all day and then they get home with their kids, it's the same way.
Yeah.
You almost have to stop outside and sit in your car for 5 minutes.
Yes, and collect
and
yourself.
do your breath.
Yeah.
And, okay, this is my intention. And I think that's what we need to do with dogs as well. People don't think that they need to be as aware of their energy and how they act with their dogs because the dog can't say anything. The dog can't say to your friend or anyone, hey, this person's been a real bitch this week.
Right.
Because you can take it out on the dog. But
Yeah.
I think it's really important for us to check in. Like, even if you started one way, calm, assertive, like check in with yourself. Is it a busy season? Am I not being as positive and, bringing out the best in my dog? Or am I really just like ringing on everything they do? Because a lot of times people get puppies and just like you said, they're like, well, why is my dog peeing in the house? It's been 2 months. I'm like, well, it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Your dog also has a tiny bladder. Like, what are you taking out on your dog? Like, what is the situation that you have beyond? And that's something I can go on and on about triggers. I know I listened to that episode as well on triggers. Yeah. Because that's the number one thing is you could really see what your triggers are with your dog.
That is true.
Yes.
You can see what your triggers are and where your immaturity hides.
Mm-hmm.
My immaturity shows up with the peeing.
Yeah.
I go,
Yeah.
are you fucking kidding me?
Uh-huh.
All day. I've
Mhm.
spent the whole day outside with you. All day.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what you do to me.
Yep.
You know, and then I go, well, come on. I'm the adult
Yeah.
here. She's a baby. She's a puppy.
Of course she's gonna pee.
learning. Of
Mhm.
course she's going to pee.
But
But,
some people don't have that. Some people are really like, what is wrong with my dog?
yes,
I
that's
have
true,
been doing
yes.
everything. And I'm like, okay, well, hold on. Have you been doing everything?
Yeah.
And if you are doing everything, are you doing it in your way? Have you thought about completely outside of your box?
Right.
You know, because so many people put dogs in this box of like, this is how they should act. This is how, and dogs are completely different. I think you
Yeah.
even mentioned like, you're struggling with things with Izzy that you never dealt with Priscilla.
100%.
And
Same
I have
breed
the same,
dog.
Yeah. I have that same thing. Like my first dog, who I'm just still to this day pisses me off every time he does it, where I'm like, you have been with me for 10 years now since I've started this, but he's a Chihuahua. He's my little Chihuahua.
Yeah.
And he's not a barker. He's the chillest little dog, but he just wants to piss on everything.
Ah.
And no matter what I've done, and the mistake I made, if this could help anyone, this is all I could offer.
Right?
The mistake that I made in the beginning, I got him when I was a student, and I've never once woke up and said, I'm going to get a dog. Like every day that I got a dog, they just kind of landed on my doorstep or in my car or something. Like and Snoopy, he was my first one. He was totally being neglected. His friend of a friend, and it was a family dog, and he's epileptic, and they called me at like 2 a.m. one day and was like, the dog almost fell in a pool. I think he got rat poisoning. He keeps shaking. What do I do? And I was like, take him to the vet.
Yeah.
That's what you do. And I lived far. I didn't have a car. I was 17. And I called my mom. I was like, pick me up. Let me go get him. Like, let's go get him. She's like, well, I live like 2 blocks from him. Maybe I could just pick him up. I was like, nope, he needs me. Pick me up. So she drove all the way to pick me up. And then I had a dog, and what the problem with him was I spoiled him too much because of where he came from. Like that story just stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the leader that I should have been. But my problem, the biggest mistake that I made was I showed him what made me mad. And in the beginning, when I was training, I was very patient in the beginning because he was an outside dog. So I was like, there's going to be a learning curve here. But it took long. It was like 9 months later. And I was a student full time trying to be a vet. So like you could only imagine what and I was working a ton because I don't get help from my family.
Yeah.
So I was just stressed.
Yeah.
Just like completely stressed. And I would come home and I'm like a clean freak, like crazy clean freak. And I'd see pee and I'm like, and then he'd pee in the crate and like all these things. So I would just get mad. And now every time he wants to make me mad, like if I'm paying attention to another dog or if I come home just to grab something and I need to leave right away, he'll pee because he knows how to make me mad.
Aha.
And that's the number one thing I teach now is just like, be careful with how you show your dogs, like what gets under your skin, because when they want to show you, when they want to be saucy with you later on
or dominate,
they're going to do it. Yeah.
Really, it's a way of dominating.
Yeah, 100%. That's him.
It's,
all time.
Yeah,
all
way to dominate, to go, I'm winning.
Yeah.
And it's the same with kids. I think you can't really let them win in the beginning. Like when they're really little, there's obviously there's times when you
choose your battles.
You choose your battles.
Yeah.
But really in the beginning, when they're toddler, when they're really small, it's confusing to a kid. And I would imagine it's confusing to a dog.
Yeah.
For it to be okay to pee in the house now, but not okay to pee in the house later.
Yeah.
That's very confusing.
Yeah.
So you have to be really consistent with every boundary. It's not okay to chew shoes ever. It's
or
not okay.
A sock you don't care about.
Yes.
The dog doesn't know you don't care about it.
No.
He's going to go for every sock in the house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's okay to chew a dog toy. It's not okay to chew a shoe. And it's the same with toddlers.
Yeah.
You can't hit your sister and that okay, and then go to school and hit a friend and that's not okay.
You're like,
they're
actually
not ever okay, right? So it's in the how you start is how you finish. I think sometimes
you're really setting the foundation. That first, I would say 30 to 60 days of raising a dog, or I mean, it's a lot longer for kids, but that's really going to set the foundation for how your dog sees you.
Yes.
If you're, say you get a dog and you're in a really busy season at work because you just got promoted and you're like, oh, when I have more time, I'll start to put more structure in the household. That's just not how it works.
No.
You have to do it from day one, because what happens is you wait until there's a problem and then you're like, oh, I better fix the problem. When instead you could set up boundaries, limitations, structure in the house from day one, so that when you are out and about, or when you have guests over for Thanksgiving or Christmas and you're telling your dog to do something, they are well aware of what they need to do.
Yes.
But if you let your dog do anything you want, or a kid, and then people come over and you want them to look civilized, they're not going to act civilized.
No, because they don't know how.
They don't know how.
No.
You have to show them when it's not a moment where they're already crazy.
Right.
And that's the number one thing. I get so many calls of like, I'm having people right now. That's the number one thing. I have people over. Do you take the dog just for a day for Thanksgiving? Or what do I do? Do I put him in a room or this and that? It's like, well, the number one thing or the best one for this, I guess, is when I'm having a baby in a few months and I don't know what to do. How am I going to introduce the dog? Or, well, the best thing to do is to have structure from day one. And if you don't now, you have 9 months to build structure.
Yep.
Because by the time that baby comes, your dog is going to know his boundaries in the house. He's
Right.
going to know how to give you or your bed
That's
space because you've already set that up. But if you're waiting until you're about to pop and you call a trainer and you're like, take my dog for 2 weeks, that's not going to work, because the dog is going to be amazing for that trainer. But they're going to come home and the limitations and the boundaries and the rules, they're not going to be there.
Right.
So the dog's going to go right back to its habits. And then another thing is one person in the house, mostly the women, one person in the house is the strict one. And then everyone else doesn't follow through with the consistency.
That's my house.
Yeah, my house as well. It used to be. But now I'm like,
Yeah.
this is the rule.
Right.
Because 2 of my dogs started feuding. So
Right.
like we had to be really strict. The whole house had to get on board. But that's the thing is you have to sit down in the beginning. Okay, what are our house rules?
Right.
How are we going to be consistent as a family? What are the commands that we're going to use together? Because if not, then the dog is going to know when it's camp and when it's real life.
Right.
He's not going to be like walking all over one person when the mom leaves town for a day.
Right.
Is really what happens, is that one person is like the caretaker,
Right.
going crazy, doing all of the things, and then no one else in the family is following through. And it's kind of like hurting the progress of the dog because it's only the one person.
It's stunting.
Mm-hmm.
Stunts the progress. Well, that definitely is going on a little bit at my house.
Mm-hmm.
I am the 99% caretaker of Izzy.
Yep.
And I keep trying to inspire
Mm-hmm.
other people
It's a
to
great word, inspire.
take on some habits.
Mm-hmm.
And Isla's really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia is a typical teenager and does not have time,
Mm-hmm.
does not want to be bothered.
Yep.
She only wants the positive benefits of the
Yep.
dog, which is the snuggle on the couch.
Yeah.
She's not interested in anything else. And Bert's pretty much the same human being. So for me, this is what I did, and maybe this will help people. And please add to anything I may have not done that would be good. When we got a puppy, I got a crate and I got a corral, which is like a freestanding dog fence, because I like for them to have a little bit of movement and not just be in a box.
I recommend the same.
Reality is, based on the age of your dog, and you can Google this information, your dog can only hold their bladder for a certain number of hours.
Yep.
So when we got Izzy, she was 11 weeks old, and it was 2 to 3 hours. So I would organize my day so that she was only in a crate maximum 2 hours at a time. And as she ages, that window of time can get bigger.
Yes.
So,
and it's like a 3-week span. Every 3 weeks,
oh, is that
you
right?
can increase it.
Oh, I didn't know that. But I just kept Googling it to see.
I mean, that works
when
too. Yeah.
It's
all about the age.
Leave her the most. And so I would leave her on purpose. I would plan so that I wasn't like with her all day, every day from the beginning.
Because that encourages separation anxiety.
Exactly.
Very
So,
intentional.
From the
I love
beginning, I said there will be pockets of time in the day where you are going in the crate / corral and you're staying there. So I did that. For potty training, I took her outside, and this sounds exhausting, but I took her outside like every 20 minutes. Yeah. When she was that age.
I definitely agree with that.
And even when she peed, she would have just freaking peed. And I would try to take her out again. Yep. Like every half hour at least, I would try to take her out. And I would always say the same words. Let's go pee-pee. Let's go pee-pee. Let's go pee-pee. And then poop. Let's go poop. Pee-pee, poop. One of the two. And I just said those words constantly. Yep. All of this worked so well with Priscilla. I had Priscilla fully housebroken before 2 weeks. It was probably 1 week. Wow. Where I had her fully housebroken. Like she never had accidents. I still would remind her, but she never had accidents. That has not been my experience with Izzy.
Yeah. And it's not a one size fits all.
It's not a one. That's the lesson. Yeah. Is that I approached it having only potty trained one dog because Mona showed up potty trained, thinking 1 week, maybe 2. No, that's not true. Yeah. It's taken months. And she had an accident last night in my house because she's scared of the dark because Izzy will not go in the backyard in the dark by herself. All our backyard lights on. Will not go in the backyard unless a person is with her. Aww. So from sundown on, I still have to remind her. Yep. And I don't have to remind her as often. It's not every half an hour, but every hour and a half or so, I have to go, oh, let's go outside and pee. And she'll do it, but she will not go outside. She is scared of the dark.
I'm curious to know what was the trick, because that's what I recommend for people is take them out as much as you can. Yes. No matter how annoying it is, take them out as much as you can, because what happens is you get to see when she pees. Is it every 50 minutes?
That's right.
Is it every hour and 20 minutes?
That's right. That's right.
And then what you do is 5-10 minutes before that, if you want to be even safer, 20 minutes before that, you go out, you take her on a walk, and you set her up for success.
That's right.
What happens is people don't do that. They don't pay attention to her patterns, and they say, okay, this is what works for me. Right. Every 2.5 hours, let's do that. And then the dog pees in the house before that. Right. And then you get frustrated. That whole thing happens. But then 2, the dog wants to not pee in their area. They want to do good. They want to make you happy. They want to do, with the whole applause and the, yay, you peed. Oh my God, good job. They want that. Yes. But what happens is if you set them up for peeing, having an accident in the house because you're not doing that work, they're just going to get used to it. They're going to be like, oh, well, this is easier. You almost don't want them to realize what's easier. You want to nip that in the butt. And what happens is a lot of people don't do that in the beginning. Right. And they say do a pee-pee pads for puppies, which that drives me nuts a lot of the times. For certain dogs, it works. But that's one of the cases is you're letting your dog know how easy it is to not hold their bladder. Right. Just like you want to train them how to be independent and have time to themselves where they're not getting so attached to you, where you're with them 24/7, you also need to train their bladder. Right. You need to let their bladder know, like, if I want to pee right now and I'm in a house, I have to hold this. I have to keep my area nice. I have to keep my kingdom pretty.
Right.
But mom knows. She knows when I have to use the restroom. She gets it.
Right.
So I don't have to have an accident in the house because my humans are looking out for me and they're doing all of the things to make sure that I'm outside when I need to use the restroom.
Right.
So even when they do have to have, when they do pee and they're catching on to things, they are thinking, oh, someone has my back. I don't need this.
Right.
But it's when they realize that the person isn't paying attention to their patterns is when they start to go crazy.
Right.
And that wasn't your case. Is you were there. You were able to take her out as much as possible, but that just didn't work for her. It helped,
it
but
helped.
she needed a little more extra love.
I think she's dumb. It just didn't click for her.
Did something click though?
I don't know. Because she's still having accidents. Yeah. And I am so on top of her about it. Like, I mean, there were times when I would be walking around outside for 20 minutes. Let's go pee, let's go pee, let's go pee. She would walk inside the house and pee right inside the door.
Yep.
And I'd go, no, outside.
Yeah,
and
I had
pick
a
her
girl
up, take
like
her outside.
that too.
And I'm like, what the heck? How many times do I have to tell you?
And then they don't like to pee on walks. That's
she
what
does
makes
not
it
pee
hard.
on walk.
Yeah.
She will not pee on a walk.
I remember the first pee I got from her. It was just like Christmas
She's peed
Day.
on a walk with you?
But
She
they're
still
pity
hasn't with me.
pees. She's only given me one
A pity
real
pee?
solid pee. Yeah, she does a pity pee where she's like, fine. Because I'm sitting there doing the dance, saying the commands, like, come on, potty, let's go pee. Like, she's like, okay, whatever. And she usually does it on your yard. She's like, only on my grass, girl. Like, only on my grass. And I had a girl like that too. And she would pee on my bed. I think I told you that.
Yes,
She'd pee on the bed and then the cot. And I figured my trick for her was she didn't like the pee to sprinkle back up onto her. She's so clean. She's like, I just love her. I manifested everything about her.
Oh my God.
But she's so clean and I couldn't figure it out. I was like, why isn't she going to the bathroom? Like, this is driving me crazy. She would only want to pee on the bed or the cot. And I'm like, this is nuts. I'm doing all the things. Like, I'm a professional, damn it. You're making me look bad.
Right.
And it just didn't work. And finally, I put a synthetic grass patch on the cot and like,
that did
done deal. Never had an accident again.
Well, you know what I had to do for Izzy in the rain? She had never seen rain. She was not having it.
Yep.
She was not even, and we have an awning off our back porch, so she could have peed outside.
Right there.
And she wouldn't consider it. I had never used pee-pee pads with any of my dogs. But I got a little desperate because she wouldn't go outside.
In times like that, it's necessary. It's more of when like people are like, that's for all the time. I'm like, no.
I put the pee-pee pad just outside the door and it worked.
Perfect.
She would go right outside on the pad and I'm like, okay, that's fine. She pooped and peed on the pee-pee pad. So clearly she was pee-pee pad trained by the person we got her from.
And that's actually a great point for people to take is like, you don't have to use pee-pee pads in the house. If you have a patio or something like that, if you're in an apartment, or when I was in the apartment, I lived in Van Nuys when we first met. We had all of our dogs trained to go to the patio, which was all synthetic grass. It wasn't our patio. Nothing in the house was. It was all dog stuff.
Yeah.
And that worked wonders. It really did until we got one of our other dogs and she only peed on walks. I'm like, oh, well, you're making things a lot harder for me. You're making things a lot harder. But that was the thing that like, if you use a pee-pee pad outside, you don't have to use it in your bathroom. You can get your bathroom back.
Right.
Like be creative. If you don't want to, if training isn't necessarily helping and you don't want to use a pee-pee pad, you can do what you did. It's the smell. It's attracting them to that. Oh, this for some reason smells like I should pee on it.
Yeah, I should be here.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I think a lot
trick.
of breeders and maybe even rescue places use pee-pee pads out of necessity. You know,
so they have a lot of litters.
They have a lot of litters, or they don't have a lot of space for, and there's a lot of puppies. That would be a lot of pee.
Yep.
To have to take out every 20 minutes to go pee. So I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never used one. I never even bought them for Priscilla. But this dog is a whole new world. This dog is something else, I tell you.
You do what you got to do. Really. You
so
really do.
Difference in dogs. Priscilla never was interested in chewing anything. Izzy will eat the house,
which
everything.
We should definitely give a little parent tip of the day for the toy breaking in half.
Yes.
I never considered that. You always think when you buy toys, you just think, okay, this is safe for this size. They always say that, as long as it's not a choking hazard for that size dog. When you have a big size difference in the house, you don't consider that. Even for
Right.
me, I have tiny dogs and I have large dogs.
Right.
I've never even considered, well, what happens when my dog eats this bone halfway? I have antlers. I went around and I did a check when I got home.
Yeah.
All my antlers were like small now.
Oh.
Because I was just like, okay, well, this is just when you buy the toy, just as a little clarification. So if you buy a dog toy and you have different sized dogs, make sure you're continuously checking in case a bigger dog like Malia, she's my pit bull, she likes to gnaw through things like nothing, and then she'll hide it underneath her bed. So I only go there when I'm making her bed, which is quite often. But I have so many dogs that like they know where their hidden stuff is. Yeah.
Their noses work really well.
Exactly. So continue to check to make sure that if they were to bite through an antler, mine was the antlers, all of them are gnawed down. And I realized my small dogs were going to Malia's bed and taking it into their kingdom. And I found all of the smallest little antlers in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't okay. And even if we don't know if they're going to swallow it, I was like, I don't know. So I'm just going to pick it up just in case, because I never even considered that.
Right.
Is you think if it's a huge toy, that's not going down anywhere.
Yes, it's true. For those of you listening who don't know, I gave Izzy something called a Nyla bone, which was a puppy teething bone. It's for puppies.
Very,
her
very
size.
popular too.
They're really popular. They're chicken flavored. They're not supposed to be able to like really chew through them. I think Priscilla gnawed the two knobby ends off, which Izzy then came and swallowed whole. So we had to have them surgically removed. She is currently wearing a t-shirt to cover her stitches, which
looks very cute.
Yes. And thank God we have pet insurance, because it was like $6,000 to have this bone that was puppy safe removed. But she lives with a dog with a steel trap jaw who just bit it in half for her.
And even on those toys, they say like in really small print, like make sure you're sizing it with the right dog, but you never consider when you have multiple dogs, what happens if it's bitten in half?
Yeah.
Or you just never consider it. It's just one of those expensive lessons where you're like, well, shit, I wish someone else would have learned that lesson.
Yeah, totally. I learned it hard way. So I want to talk about vet visits.
Yes.
We were talking about my vet visit when I realized that some of this stuff is really hard to teach, I think. Some of it is from experience, from just pet owning experience, but also for me growing up on a farm and watching farm animals have medical issues, you kind of learn what is serious and what is not, right?
You use your intuition a lot.
You use your intuition a lot, which is hard for people who maybe don't have that. But there are some things that you can do, like vomiting.
Yes.
Right? Animals eat stuff, especially if they have access to a yard. My barometer for vomiting is it coupled also with diarrhea? If it's by itself, I don't worry about it a lot.
Same.
If it's small in volume, I don't worry about it a lot.
Same.
If it is, this is when I knew that Izzy had a blockage, is she ate and drank and threw up all of the water and all of her kibble were in whole pieces.
Yep, not digested at all.
And I went, that's not going past her stomach.
Yeah.
So if it's in small pieces a little bit or looks like mush, it's different. It's different. It looks very different. And the sheer volume of it, she emptied her stomach.
Yep.
That was one of the things that concerned me.
Which was very not common for her.
No, not common for her. And another thing I look for with vomiting is being lethargic or a change in behavior.
Eating habits, drinking habits, pooping.
Changing, sleeping when they're usually playing. Not wanting to engage with another dog, which is normally they would. Like those kind of changes in behavior indicate that the dog's not feeling well in a different way than I ate a leaf and I'm throwing it up.
Yeah.
And now I'm moving on. I'm back to playing with my big sister. So when Izzy started vomiting, her behavior was the same. She was playing like crazy. She was pooping, regular solid poops, but the volume of vomit was so not normal. And I'd fed her a little more again, and the same big volume came out. And I went, okay, this may not be right. That was my red flag. So Dogs vomit.
Yeah.
So do cats. It's just kind of part of the game.
Yeah. And a lot of people see vomit once and see like diarrhea once and they rush their pets to the hospital.
That's true. Yes.
And it's like, we just have to think, if we had diarrhea once, I'm sure you have in this past week, did you go to the doctor?
No.
If you threw up something, you have to think, is it very abnormal for them and their, characteristics? And two, just like you said, is it so, like, for vomiting, the amount of vomit was just crazy. It wasn't like she just spit up a couple of pieces of kibble.
Yeah.
Like, it was definitely alarming. And if you're alarmed, then, if you don't have that intuition, then you definitely want to reach out. But I think the first step is finding a vet you really trust. That's the number one thing.
Absolutely.
Because so many people just think, you got lucky with one so close to you. That is amazing. But so many people think, oh, I'll go to this is another thing of like one size fits all. Oh, I'll go to the vet and I don't really love them, but they're close or they're affordable or this or that. If there's anything that you want to change about your vet, go to a different one.
Yes, true.
Simple as that.
Because they're all over.
They're all over. And when I was a veterinary technician, I was fired from my first place because I gave too much free information.
Oh my God, what?
I was the receptionist. I started there. And a lot of places. I have a course that I teach new dog parents what to do in their first 30 days. And the first thing I start with is this. And it's the one lesson that everyone skips. I'm like, you're going to regret that. You are, because the reason why people don't understand how important it is to find a good vet.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you can go somewhere and they're like, you need this. And outside of the money, why put your dog through it if it's not needed? And there are people, like we said, veterinarians are like mechanics, unfortunately, where they will say anything and everything. They'll put things on the estimate that aren't actually needed because there's been this weird energy in the room where people don't feel like they could stand up, or like they don't want to come off as being cheap, or they don't know what's actually needed. So they're trusting the vet, the professional in the room.
Right.
When at the end of the day, that vet knows blood work and x-ray and an ultrasound really isn't needed.
Right.
They could probably go home with some antibiotics, or maybe if not, like whatever the situation is. But I always encourage people, the first step is doing your work to find that person. Like, do everything you can. I always prefer smaller clinics. The one
too.
Down the street is, and because they don't have corporate rules. That's where I was fired from. They had corporate rules. Don't tell someone a cheap fix because then they're not going to come into our doors. And I'm like, well, the point is to help them. What do you mean? And I got fired over telling someone the doses for Benadryl because that could be an allergy medication that they could sell. And that's when I was 18. And I decided at that point, like, oh, no.
Yeah, that's not the point.
I'm going to a place. And then I worked at a clinic in Winnetka, and that doctor would do anything.
Right.
Anything for a dog parent, anything you need. He'll sit on the phone on a Sunday and walk you through something if you have questions on it.
Right.
And that's who you need to look for.
Right.
Because those people, not only are those doctors going to give you so much information that you don't even know you need, but they're also going to teach you in moments that other vets don't teach.
Right.
They just like put a Band-Aid on it.
Or
Here
they
you
want
go.
you reliant on them. Right?
Yep.
They want you reliant on them. Here's something I look for in a vet. Will they let me walk the dog to where they're going to take her blood? Am I in the room when the dog is examined?
Yes.
I went to the emergency vet when this happened with Izzy, and they took her somewhere else and examined her. So I have no idea what they did
happened.
to her.
Yep.
I don't know if they felt her stomach to see if they could feel an obstruction or to see if she was in pain. I have no idea what they did. They just came out and went, here's what we found.
Yep.
And I was like, I already don't trust you because I feel like now you're hiding something from me.
Yep.
And I'm sure their philosophy is in the best interest to separate, like kids. Kids do so much better with the pediatrician when they're there with a nurse and not their mom because they want their mommy.
Yeah.
And I get that mentality, but I don't trust it.
Yeah.
Now, the vet I go to now, which I'm happy to say, Dr. Dogra at Aloro on Laurel Canyon
Shout out.
is amazing. But that's one of the things I love about him is that from the front door to the back door, his practice is transparent. I have been in every exam room.
Yes.
I have been in the kennel. I have been in the operating room. And he has no problem.
They shouldn't have anything to hide.
There's nothing to hide.
Yeah.
And nothing is restricted. I understand about cleanliness and whatever. But if Priscilla needs an x-ray, I walk her to the x-ray room.
The only time that I agree with having the parent not around is if that parent is obviously making the situation worse.
Oh, well, yeah.
That is the only time when I worked at the clinic that we would do everything in front of the dog parents. I say dog parent a lot. Well, I want to circle back to that afterwards.
Dog parent?
Parent versus owner, yeah. But that's one that's very controversial.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but for that, the only time he would say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't get blood right now, that he's too stressed, let's take him to the back. He'd tell the parent, hey, I think he's, he wants to be with you, and I think it would be easier if we got this, without.
No, that makes
was
total
the
sense.
only time where I was like, I love that transparency.
Yeah.
If you want to go see where the dog gets x-rays, come back, and you can't be in the room, but you can see it, that kind of thing. You're able to see that when you actually step in.
Right.
But the one thing that you can do when you're just calling people to grill, that's always what I say, call people and grill them. And if they don't want to waste their time answering your questions, they're not the vet for you. Because if they're on the phone and they're not giving you good service, they're definitely not going to be great service when you're already there paying money.
Totally.
Because their job as the receptionist is to get you in.
That's right.
So if they're not doing a good job on that, that is the face of the company.
Yeah, so
they are going to be
already.
the best of the best.
Yeah.
So that's your first red flag. But ask the number one question I always ask. Hey, when I come in afterwards, can I get on the phone with the vet? Like, do I get direct access to the vet?
Yeah.
And if they say, oh, no, usually a nurse or a vet tech or a receptionist will call you back. There it is. That's it. That's usually the one where you're like, okay, if the doctor uses his middleman and he won't get on the phone and like walk you through it, that's always the indicator. I've probably worked in 6 hospitals, and that's always been the one.
Really?
That's like that first one. The number one flag that I got from them was never go back into the doctor's office and put him on a phone call. Everything needs to be a message. I'm like, well, what if it's an emergency about a dog who just got surgery? Ask one of the technicians. I should have known in that moment.
Right.
I should have known in that moment.
Right.
And I just ignored my intuition. I was just like, okay. And like, I was 17 at the time.
Oh, well, yeah.
So
I was going to say, give yourself a learning curve.
Yeah. But I've noticed that over the time, because I call so many hospitals for vaccines, or when I was at the boarding place, you call so many places. And over time, I've built connections with a lot of the hospitals in the Valley. And that's what I've realized is the ones where the doctor won't even waste the time to get on the phone with the patient who's already been there. Not like, here's this new person calling. You want to talk them through to see if they want to choose this vet. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean more of like, if you're going through treatment with Izzy and you want to call back and you can't get a hold of the actual doctor.
Yeah.
No, that's usually where the doctor is using every way possible to maximize their profit. That's really what it's about. And if that's the case, they're likely doing that in testings and blood work and adding all kinds of things as well. That's the number one thing that I've seen. But stick up for yourself. If you're in a vet,
ask questions.
Don't be so many questions. Hey, what's this on this estimate? Because they'll come in and they'll give you a huge ass estimate. Yeah. And they're like, here, sign here.
Miscellaneous, like, $180. Miscellaneous. And you're like, what?
Extra. Yeah. And it's just like, well, and they don't even explain, well, what is this test for? And what is this? So I always say, if you don't know something, get a pen or ask for a pen and say, can I have a few minutes with this estimate? Is that okay before? And in the beginning, say, hey, no treatment until I approve it. Right. Because people will give treatment and then here's the estimate, sign it, here you go. Right. But say like, oh, I don't understand what this is. What is this blood work for? Can we hold off on this? Or what is my other option? If I can't afford this, what is another option? Or if I don't want to go down this route because I'm not huge into medicine, that's what I would say. Hey, I don't want to give my dog steroids. Right. What's a different option? Oh, well, actually, we can see if this works, see in a few days what happens, and then we'll go from there. And then likely or not, if it's a good case, the dog's worked itself out, the dog's doing better, the diarrhea went away or limping is gone. And then all of a sudden you don't have to fork out all this, frustration, money, time into this huge procedure that was not even needed.
I agree with everything you're saying. My Dr. Dogra always calls me back. And he always calls me directly, just so you know, I got the test results. Mona's great.
See, that's
Give me
incredible.
A call if you have any questions. But something that I think I'm good at picking doctors because I do this with my
it's a great superpower.
Physician. It is a great superpower.
It is, yeah.
Because I don't want you to throw medical at it. I want you to throw change of behavior, change of lifestyle. I want you to throw that at it.
You guys need to be aligned in how you guys approach things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so with Dr. Dogra, when Izzy had this blockage and she went to the hospital, the hospital, of course, immediately said, I'd just cut her open. Yeah. And they were going to charge me I won't name this hospital, but they were going to charge me like $12,000 for this
fucking house down payment.
Yes, and say you buy a car with that to treat her. And I kept saying, but can she wait and go to her regular physician? Because I would like her to be somewhere where she's familiar. And even though she's new to our household, she has been to see Dr. Dogra a couple times for her shots and her checkup. And he knows her somewhat, and he knows how our house works.
Yep.
And they were not encouraging me, but I knew enough that this is, I guess you can't ask a layman. I'm definitely a layman, but I looked at the x-rays and went, oh, I don't see anything. I just see a lot of gas. So if she's gassy, she's not going to explode over the next 12 hours. She's
Which
gonna
they
be
don't
gassy.
necessarily know at that time, right? They could easily say, well, it could be gas. Maybe we should wait and see.
Well,
right?
yes. And I thought, feel her abdomen. Is she hurting? Is she yelling out in pain? Well, if not, then I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Which is what we did. We waited. And when we came to Dr. Dogra, he was like, I don't want to cut her open.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing the hospital said was, let's cut her open.
Yes.
And I went, but we can't be at that place. Her behavior's totally normal. She has a normal temperature. She's still trying to eat, even though she's throwing it up. So she still has an appetite. She doesn't have diarrhea. I don't understand the justification for jumping to that conclusion that we need to do surgery. Whereas Dr. Dogra's approach was, let's watch her. Let's try to feed her. Let's do a barium drink so we can see if there's stoppage. And then if there is, we'll know exactly that nothing's passing before we open. We just jump to opening her up. And every time I go see him, I say to him, first of all, I found out early on if he owned dogs. And he does.
He does. Good.
He owns boxers.
Aww.
Boxer's his favorite breed.
That's his thing.
And I was like, okay, so he's a dog owner. So he's in the thick with me. You know, it's like getting advice about parenting from someone who's never had a child.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure they can give good advice, but it's very different than when
you haven't walked through it.
Yeah, it's very different. So I was like, great, he's a dog owner. It would have been fine if he was a cat owner too, but and then I always have him tell me everything that's going on, and I would say, I always ask Dr. Dogra, if this was your dog, what would you do? And he'll tell me.
Yes.
If this was my dog, I would wait. I would do the barium, and then I would make a decision. And I go, well, then that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
I'm going to treat my dog like you would treat your dog, because he has all this at access for free.
Yes.
And he doesn't or does have to do any of this that he wants. He can pick and choose.
Most doctors never cut up their own dogs.
No, who wants to cut a dog up?
Or medication, like any of it. All of the doctors that I've worked under, they hardly even give like frontline or flea meds. They're just like, but then they will say like, oh, make sure there's no like weird sticks that they could swallow. Like they're way over precautious over some things. But it's just so funny when I actually did have, I used to work under a vet who never had a pet ever. And I was like, well, that's weird.
Fascinating.
Where is all of the like advice coming from, in a way where like you only can learn so much from when you get this small amount of a book and a small amount of percentage when people come in. But when you're actually living it, I think that's one of my superpowers is I don't just have my dogs. I have like
everybody's dogs.
Everybody's dogs.
Well, Dr. Dogra, they have a vet cat.
There it is.
His name is Chad.
Oh,
Chad is always walking around, just hanging out. He's a Siamese cat that was a rescue, and he came in for medical, and they just kept him.
So cute.
So he lives at the vet office, and I'm like, okay, that's got to be a good vet.
Yeah.
They have a mascot.
Yeah, they have a mascot.
Chad is so funny. He'll just sit like
that's so
at the
cute.
Receptionist desk on the file she's working on, and she'll just sit there and wait for Chad to move.
I'm the helper.
Yep, that's right. I'm butt
warming up your
stamping.
papers.
Paid.
Butt stamp done.
Paid.
That's so good.
So I love Dr. Dogra so much.
Yeah.
He feels like a part of our family. I hope he never retires, and I know he's going to at some point, because he's older than me by a bit, and I'll be so sad when he retires for me.
That's how I feel with Dr. Smolin. I love him so much. He's in Winnetka, and he really taught me a lot of the stuff of intuition. Like I knew it in my head, but I didn't know how to speak it. Right. If that makes sense. Like
totally.
It just like made sense to me. Like I got it. And I didn't understand why like other people weren't seeing what I saw. And he like really made it clear. Like, and he's so soft spoken, you know? So I'm like, anything you say, I'm going to take it in.
Yeah, totally.
And then his wife, she's a different story. You know
Oh, yeah.
You can balance them out.
They balance each other out. Well, here's some other things I've learned from owning pets. Glassy-eyed, they don't feel good. So if that glassy-eyed is coupled with like a diarrhea or something, I usually will watch them. I watch everything for like a full day.
Same.
I
never
give it a
move the
day.
first day.
Me neither, unless it is severe.
Yeah. And the reason why, for people who are wondering, is most of the time the doctor is going to ask you questions. And if you just brought them in immediately, you can't give questions.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. You have to be like, most of the time the doctor is going to say, okay, I'm going to send you home with this. I want you to monitor him and let me know in a few days.
Yeah.
So instead of that, you just wait that day or two. Sometimes with my intuition, I mean, you take this with a grain of salt, but I'm confident to sometimes wait several days and say, oh no, this isn't needed. Or sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, this actually does need to be seen. Let's go to the doctor. Yeah. But there is a little time period where if you don't know, find someone who does.
That's right.
You know, I know Sandy, she's able to contact the both of us if she doesn't know something on an estimate. If you don't know something, if it's not your strength, find someone who's very confident. Take them with you.
Oh, I've done it so many times for Sandy. Yeah. She is like, Dr. Dogra is from India. Sandy is from Vietnam. And so their accent barrier, where I think Dr. Dogra understands Sandy fine, but Sandy will call me and go, could you just please call Dr. Dogra and tell him to tell you exactly what he just told me so you can tell me what he said? And I'm like, why don't I just go with you? Yeah. So I started just going with her. And then in the middle of it, she'd go, what's he saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, he's saying that Stella needs an x-ray.
Yeah.
Because he believes ABC.
And people need that. People just need that. You know, it's just so nice what kind of pressure that takes off of her to be the one that's like, if I make the wrong decision because I don't know what I'm talking about, then find someone. I'm sure you do. You know, I've even opened up that, you know, for my clients, like, hey, because I've gotten so upset over the years. People, over the same weekend that you did, someone had a similar situation, ate a sock, $13,000. And it was the same thing. You need to open her up right away. Didn't wait for passing, didn't do anything. They just saw something cloudy in the x-ray and was like, let's open them. Let's
Can't you
figure
remove
it
some
out.
stuff through like endoscopy?
There's so many options that you can do. I don't even know what all of them are.
You don't have
but
to.
You can't. But barium is the best one.
Yeah.
But nothing. No. And then it was just like, here's the estimate, sign here.
Right.
And then she calls me crying.
Yeah, because she didn't know what to do.
Husband's pissed. Like so many. And it's like, it's a spiral. You feel like you made a worse mistake. You can't get the money back. Your dog's in surgery. And at that point, you don't know if you made the right decision. You don't, because the doctor already jumped the gun. Right. But in that moment, you know, it's so hard. You have all the thoughts, just like you were thinking, well, can't we do this? Can't we do that? Everyone thinks that to themselves. Yeah. Luckily for me, I don't have a filter. Right. I say things as I think them for the most part. So I'm like, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking. I want to talk out loud. What do you think about this? Right. But a lot of people are just like, oh, my dog is possibly dying. My dog is uncomfortable. Let's just do it. And this whole week, I'm getting messages from her. So upset. Aww. So upset. And it makes me upset because it's just like the doctors could just educate someone in that moment. It is an opportunity to educate. And I think a lot of people are embarrassed. Yes. You know, I'm embarrassed to tell my dad how much money I spend at the vet. Oh, yeah. Even though I have pet insurance. Oh, yeah. Even though we can totally afford it. I am embarrassed because my dad is like, well, that dog would get a bullet to the head. It'd be done. I'm not paying $600 to get a $6,000 surgery because that's my 10%. Or you can't afford it and you're embarrassed. Yes. So I think a lot of people don't reach out to other people because of that too. Yeah. They get really embarrassed that it seems frivolous to spend that much money on an animal. Yeah. But really, our animals are part of our family. Yeah. And they're really like a tier down from our kids. Yeah. They're not as important as our kids, but they're not like disposable items. Yeah. So if I make the integral commitment to have this animal, then I am out of integrity to not care for it when I can. I really like the way you said that. I am capable of it financially and every other way. Not everyone is lucky enough to be in that position. Exactly. But we are. So I can't just go, just put her down. Yeah. That's out of integrity for me. So I can't do that. Another thing.
Dehydration is one thing that's very dangerous for animals.
Yes.
So when they're sick, vomiting or whatever, dehydration is something that I look for by looking at their gums.
Yes.
Their gums and inside their eyelids, right?
And then another trick, the gums is a really good indicator.
But tell them what to look for.
So
since you
for
worked
the
in a vet
gums,
office.
you want the number one thing that you want to do with gums is do this even when you don't think your dog is sick. So I always say, check your dog as much as possible when they're totally normal so that you're the first one to know when things aren't normal.
That's right.
Because so many times people will call, hey, is something up with my dog? It's like, well, you tell me. You know your dog more than anyone. Like, walk me through it. But the number one thing that you can do, touch your dog's gums and see how fast it goes from white to pink again.
Right.
So, when you touch the gum, it's going to turn white if you give it a good press.
Yep.
If it doesn't go back right away, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And if it just stays white, and it's the same thing. The number one thing that vets do or a vet tech will do is grab the skin on between their shoulders. That's the best thing to do. For cats, it works great.
But you pull it up, and if it stays up,
dehydrated.
they're dehydrated, right?
It should be very elastic.
Even if what I do for gums is I don't even push on them. My dogs have really pink gums.
Yeah.
If I lift a lip and they're whitish,
they're pale,
then they're dehydrated. And the same with the inside of their eyelids. The inside, if you look at the inside of their eyelids, they're pinkish.
Yes.
But if they're white, they're dehydrated. So when a dog gets dehydrated, that's, to me, when Georgia was 20 months old, she got the rotavirus, which is a very bad diarrhea vomiting virus.
Oh, no.
They now inoculate for it. They did not when she was a child.
Wow.
And I was 7 months pregnant with Isla, and she vomited and had diarrhea for something like 5 or 6 days straight. She lost 5 pounds at 20 months old. And I called my pediatrician, and my pediatrician said, this sounds exactly like the rotavirus. Your number one objective is to keep her hydrated.
Yeah.
If she gets dehydrated, she will have to go to the hospital. So hydrate. I've applied that to my animals.
Yes.
If they are getting dehydrated, we are going to the hospital.
Yes.
That is one of my markers. So checking the gums is about, for me, when do I go to the vet?
Yes.
So if they have white gums, I'm going to the vet. And I, obviously I watch their water intake, but if they're sick, if they have a fever, they'll become dehydrated. Yeah. Even if they're drinking water.
It's one of the telltale signs. Yeah.
Yes. So that's another thing that I learned. I don't know how I learned it about animals. I don't remember when I knew that about the white gums. I don't know I don't remember if I learned it from a vet or I don't know.
It's one of the best things to check too, because it's very easy for you to check because you're not going to get a thermometer and get some lube and stick it up your dog's butt.
Oh, come on.
That's not your Tuesday evening. Yeah.
No.
So that's the best way to do it. And then another thing common, since we're on this topic, a common indicator of an ear infection. Shaking the head a lot. If your dog isn't usually, shaking the head, scratching it, a lot of tilting to one side. If the dog is kind of tilting to one side, I don't know, can they see me? Tilting to one side. That's a good indicator. And if you're not 100% sure, smell the ear.
It smells like
it's
ass.
gonna smell disgusting, and that is
awful.
the best way.
Yep.
You can probably look for some irritation, some red, some guck, but the smell is always going to be like if you can't see anything, you're gonna smell it.
Yes.
If it's day one of an ear infection and you can catch it early because you see your dog shaken, like that's a great way to decide if your dog is actually about to have an ear infection. Smell their ears, and the best way to do that is smell them when they're not infected.
That's
so that
right.
you know what the regular smell is. Same thing for yeast. If they have like a yeast problem, you'll know the smell once you smell it.
That smell is undeniable.
Yeah.
You don't need to smell their butt before. That smell emanates in the whole room. You don't need to do. There's something else as you were saying that. Oh, Priscilla had a tooth problem. She was drooling. And, Mastiffs are droolers.
Yep.
But I went, this is not the way she normally drools.
Exactly.
And so I took her, and sure enough, she had a broken tooth. So a lot of that is common sense.
Yeah.
But nobody,
people lose their common sense.
They
with
lose
dogs
it, or they've never been
animals.
exposed to it in certain way. Like growing up on a farm, we got milk from the dairy farm down the street. How do you know when milk's bad? There's no label on it. You smell it.
Yep.
So smelling, your dog has super bad breath. Is there something going on with their stomach or her teeth?
Yeah.
That's an indicator.
It's a really good indicator. Yeah.
Same with the ear infection and the yeast infection. You can smell it. So those are they're great clues in life that we've stopped using, because Bert, I stick my nose in the opening of the milk, and Bert's like, "What are you doing?" I'm smelling it.
Like,
I don't trust the label.
One of us got to do it.
Sometimes it goes bad before the date, and sometimes it lasts 3 weeks after. You know when you smell milk if it's
because
bad.
what are they? They're giving a good estimate too, right?
It's an estimate.
They're not exact. This is the day.
No.
Like, I live by those days. I'm weird when it comes to food.
Oh, I'm not. I am not, because I grew up with all this stuff came from the farm, and it is undeniable when something is bad.
Yeah.
It smells terrible.
Yeah.
And so that's just, I still function, but it drives Bert crazy. He's like, "But the date says," I'm like, "Smell it.
Screw
it
the
smells
date.
fine. It's totally fine. I'm eating it. I don't really care."
I was just going to say to something that I heard on one of your episodes. I don't remember which one it was, but I was just like, yes, Leanne, yes. You said something like, I think it was along the lines of, people don't know, like, they're almost scared of their own strength. They don't know how strong they are, how much they're capable of. And the number one thing that I don't remember what the topic was, but the number one thing that I thought of immediately, just like shot up to the top of my brain, was that's like dog parents. Like, they don't know how much intuition they actually have, how much common sense they actually have to apply to this. It's like they get a dog and then they almost like everything goes out the window.
Short circuits.
Yeah. It's like, oh, what does the dog need? It's like, exactly in this moment, if you were to just like, for the milk, like, smell it just like you would anything else. If there wasn't a date, smell it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times people, it's just like, it's a different species. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But a lot of the information is in there. And you just need someone to shine a light on it.
That's very true.
And give you permission to say, I am right. I do have the intuition.
That's very true. It is true. People, you know more than you think you know. Some of it is in your biology.
Yes.
And you don't even know that you know it. Like the smell of infection or the smell of a yeast infection. You just know that something ain't right.
Yeah.
You may not be able to call it by name, but you know something ain't right because that smells bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
It's the same thing. A lot of the times when people get puppies and they're like, "Oh my God, I don't know how to like for crate training." That's like a really big thing. You either do it right and your dog loves it, or you do it the wrong way and you're just like, the dog hates it. And it's their den. Just like from the beginning, it's like, if we were to think just like a dog, the dog loves their crate when when they approach it the right way. That's their little room of the house. No one can fit in it. No one's going in there.
Yeah.
That's their area. And a lot of people don't even stop and think, okay, if I were to be introduced to a new thing altogether, would I want to go in there, lock the gate, and then have whoever locked it leave?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't want that.
Right.
That's going to be very hard on that dog. And you know that with your common sense.
Yes.
You know that if someone were to say that, you'd be like, oh no, I would never want that to happen.
Right.
But for some reason, it's just like,
you don't think like that.
you don't think like that. There's a hard time. You want to think like a human and you want to think like a dog. There's a middle way.
Yeah,
There's
totally.
a little middle ground there. But a lot of people just 100%, oh, I got this dog. I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah, you do.
You do.
You've raised kids. That's a lot harder.
You think about it. Well, a lot of things that you did for kids totally applies to dogs.
100%.
The thing about, I hear people say, "Oh, you put her in a crate when you leave." No, that's for her safety.
Yeah.
She would eat my entire Christmas tree and then I'd be back in surgery.
Yeah.
So it's really for her own good. Just like you would never let a toddler walk around free range while you're cooking dinner. You put them in a safe place.
You don't leave a 5-year-old home alone on date night. You
Exactly.
Get a babysitter.
There's these safety things that apply to dogs too. It's the same exact thing. And they feel safer, I think, when they have that boundary. So with the den, we had the issue with Priscilla who bit Mona because the puppy came in and I had this trainer come in. And the biggest thing I think I learned from him, I learned about the tone of voice being mostly positive. That was really helpful.
Yep.
But what he really taught me was I'm the alpha in the house.
Yeah.
I was the alpha everywhere but the front door.
Yep.
And since the whole house is their den, whoever runs the front door runs the house.
Say it for the people in the back.
Right?
That is just
Say it for the people in the back.
good.
That's awesome.
Even when you told me that, I was just like, holy shit. It's because sometimes you just don't think like that.
Exactly.
Even the people that are in, like, you do it regularly, there's still some things where you're just like, duh.
Yeah.
This whole thing is their den.
Yes.
Like, they shouldn't be at the front door.
No.
It makes so much sense.
The boss should be at the front door.
Yeah.
And that one adjustment, I think, put my house back in the right order.
Yeah.
Of just not letting them rush the front door. So what happens in my house, if you ding dong ring my doorbell, the dogs go to the door because they are positive you are there to see them.
Yeah.
Hey,
Someone's here for me.
People, I know that humans live here, but these people are here to give me pets and treats and all kinds of good love.
Yep.
And so what he said was I had to make the dogs sit way far away from the front door. Like I was trying to train them to sit at the front door with me. And he said, no, there's no delineation of leadership here. You have to make them back up way far away and sit and wait until you let the person in and let them say hi to the person.
And no matter how many times the dog gets up when you turn your back to go to the door, you have to start over. A lot of people just give in.
Yes.
The person's waiting.
Yes.
Shoot that person a text. Hey, I'm training my dog. It might take a few minutes.
Oh, I have been meaning to and have not yet put a sign on my front door that says training a puppy. Please be patient.
Yeah.
So they know we're working through something.
Yeah.
I trained Priscilla in 2 days. She never even bothers. She stays on the couch.
She gets it.
And looks out the window and wags her tail. The puppy is still in a WIP.
Yeah.
Work in progress. WIP. She's a whip. Work in progress.
I love it.
And I've been, my fault, so busy that I've been like, fuck it, I'm just getting the door. But I've got to now make that sign and get back on that because I see it worked immediately.
Yeah.
Like it was an immediate shift of power in the house.
And the thing is Izzy doesn't see, she's busy. That's why she's letting me do it.
No.
That's the thing is like, we're like, we're busy. We're in the middle. We're on a phone call, on a meeting or whatever it is. Or the worst case scenario, we're in front of someone and the dog's acting crazy and we don't want to correct the dog in front of that person or whatever it is. It's very easy for us to be like, I'll do it next time. The dog's going to wait for that. He's going to be like, is this that time?
Yep.
Is this that one time that she didn't follow through and I don't have to listen?
That's right.
They're going to push that and push it and push it.
Yep.
And that's the number one thing you have to, even when you can't, that's why the sign is so perfect. I even told someone like, I want to create, I'm always thinking of business. That's just me. I'm like, I should start this. I want to make a doormat. A little doormat that's like dog in training. Wait here.
No way.
Yay.
Awesome.
Not a puppy. Not acceptable. Just
not
kidding.
a puppy. We were talking about dogs. Kids are sort of like dogs. I mean,
no, but in that aspect for kids being like dogs, the number one thing that I always say, I hear a lot from people saying, I got suckered into getting a dog because my kids want it. And my kids, after like a week or two, they're all on board and now they're annoyed. They're annoyed of the puppy. They're annoyed. They don't help. And then no one helps in my family, blah, blah, blah. And I had a hard time at first because when I was a kid, if someone told me what to do, you do it. Like you don't have an option.
Yeah.
The times are different. People raise, families are different now. And so what I always say is, I did this when Tony moved in with me several years back. We got a place and I didn't want to give him so much responsibility because I had 3 dogs. I wasn't like a normal person that was like, I got 1 dog. Like, here you go. I was like, here are my 3 crazy dogs.
Yeah.
Help. And so I didn't want to put so much responsibility in the beginning because I didn't want him to see it as like, now I got these dogs. I'm like, I don't have a kid, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
Like his ex had a kid. I was like, this is better, right?
Right.
You don't have that much responsibility. But what you want to do is start off with the fun stuff. A lot of people, they're like, I want my kids to help. I need help with walking, feeding, this and that. Start with all of the fun stuff, the fun part of training.
Right.
Getting the playpen area. I recommend the same thing. Get a crate with the playpen attached so that they have more wiggle room.
Yep.
And with that, have the kid do the Kong in the morning. Like little things like that where they're getting excited.
Right.
But what I see a lot is the parents are overwhelmed. They want the kids to help, but they're not choosing the fun stuff.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the kid is like totally turned off.
Right.
I don't want to pick up shit. I don't want to walk the dog. It's getting into my free time after school. Like so many different things happen. And then the parents are kind of just like with their hands in the air. We're like, well, you guys wanted the dog. What do I do? Did you guys experience any of that? Or do you see that at all with?
Well, I do not operate under the illusion that my kids are dog owners.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm getting a dog, I'm getting the dog.
I love that.
So even though I
That's
just
a great
said
expectation
an hour ago how frustrated I am that the only person running the dog, I did walk into that eyes wide open, knowing that I would be the only person running this dog.
I really like that. That's good.
I think any parent, especially a younger child who believes their child is going to be in charge of this animal is negligent.
Yeah.
I mean that word exactly. That's negligent on your part where the child and the animal is concerned, no matter what the animal is. You can't just expect an 8-year-old to fully understand how to take care of a hamster. How could they know that?
Yeah.
This, like almost everything else in parenting, is a learning process.
Yeah.
I think what you're talking about is excellent because when we got Izzy, I said to the girls, Georgia wasn't interested in doing this, but Isla was. I said, I'm going to go to Petco and I'm going to get her a crate and a bed and a this and a that. You want to go with me? And Isla was like, yes.
Yep. Shopping is fun.
She picked out the crate. She picked out the bed. She picked out the dog bowl stand. She picked out the fun stuff like the leash and the collar. And so she got really invested in the dog right away.
Yep. And that ignites.
And it ignites. So she's happy to feed the dog. Nobody's happy to pick up shit in this house.
Yep.
But, and she's happy to walk the dog because of that initial investment.
Yeah.
I think I didn't really think about it that way. But now that you started listing that, I went, oh, that's exactly what we did. Georgia's not as invested.
Yeah.
Georgia wasn't as interested in getting all that stuff ready. I mean, I asked her to come with us and she was like, nah, I'm going to stay home and do homework. But Georgia loves animals, but she didn't really pick up Gus until like a year ago.
Yeah.
She's just not comfortable completely. Whereas Isla and I freaking did surgery on our chicken's foot. The two of us.
Yeah, I remember that's
cut
why.
the bumblefoot out.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea. I remember when I first started talking to chickens about you because I was like, I'm getting chickens soon. You're like, well, I have them. What do you need to know?
Yes.
I got all my information from you. I remember when I first met you, you were like, we have chickens because I think you said Isla's really into animals and she, we love our chickens. And I was like, let me see them.
They're awesome. They're awesome. It's been a great experience. And Georgia loves the chickens. She'll pick them up and hold them and everything. But like Izzy has all this medication and Mona has eye drops and Priscilla has medication. And I was going out of town and I said to Georgia, I'm going to show you how to put eye drops in Mona's eyes. And she goes, oh no, that's not my department.
Yeah.
That's literally what she said.
That's
Isla's
good.
department.
She knows though.
She was like, that's Isla's department. And I was like, you don't think you'll have animals one day and you need to learn this? And she goes, nah, I'll just call Isla and have her do it. I was like, okay. So I showed Isla the eye drops and all the medication and she just knocked it out of the park. I think there's just people, some people are just naturally understand that stuff. And some people don't. I mean, they've grown up in the same household with the same animals, with the same parents. And I have two totally different, two kids who have a totally different understanding of animals. They're just totally different.
Yeah.
Georgia loves our animals. And Isla does too. I don't think they love them any more or less than the other, but I think Georgia's just so much more cautious. Yeah. She's just like, I'm not really sure what the cat's going to do, so I'm not going to pick him up.
I feel that way about cats as well.
You do? Where Isla's like, oh, the cat does what I tell her.
Yeah.
The cat's like, oh, I got the cat. Let me tell you what you're doing now, Gus. You're getting in the bed with me. He may not stay there. But she will put him there. And
see, that's so interesting though, because I didn't know that about the dynamic that Georgia's more of like, that's not my department, which is so awesome that she's able to say that like so confidently, like, no, we know that that's Isla's department. But in a case where, one of the moms that I was working with was so heartbroken. She's like, my daughter wanted a dog for so long. And now she has a dog and within weeks, she's totally over it. She doesn't want to do anything. And I'm like, well, what does she love to do? And she's like, okay, well, she likes to paint. She likes this. I was like, can she paint a picture of the dog?
Oh,
and then I was just like, what else does she like to do? And she likes rollerblading. And I was like, well, I love rollerblading. That's my thing. I love rollerblading. And I rollerblade with my dogs because it's a great way to burn their energy in the morning. I was like, do you think she'd want to rollerblade with the dog? Like, do you think you guys could all do a thing where it's like, hey, we're going to rollerblade and we're going to take Mona for a run. Mona would not want to run. Worst example.
Are you kidding me? The meatloaf with chicken wings for legs.
Put something in front.
Yeah, right?
Dangling in
those
front.
Legs that she runs like this in circles. Die. She is the funniest dog.
It's so good. We got to do an episode once of just like all of the dogs and what their personalities be, like voiceovers. I'd get lost in it.
Oh, I talk. Oh, you don't have voices for your dogs?
Oh, no, I do.
Oh, I have voices for
some
dogs,
for Mona
cats,
and Priscilla too.
And chickens. I got voices for everybody.
Yeah, I'm probably really... I hope my clients don't look at me on the camera because it's ridiculous. It's so sad. But in that case, she she started rollerblading with the dog.
She did.
And now within just a few months, she's just like, hey, I was wondering if we could take her to the dog park one of these days.
Awesome.
And I was like, you just got to get in where you know the kid already is happy.
Yes, where's the common ground?
Yeah. And then, because, you know, the dog's going to want to do anything that you guys want to do.
Just
That's
wants to
it.
be part,
Yeah.
right? I know Isla, I throw the ball with Izzy. Izzy is obsessed.
She likes
with
fetch.
Oh my
Aw, baby
God. She
girl.
loves it. And Isla doesn't like to play fetch,
Mhm.
but Isla likes to run from the front door
Wait.
to the back fence.
Wait, not Isla.
Isla
Wait, what?
likes to run from the front door to the back fence, which Izzy is totally down for.
Okay, I get it.
So
I get
Izzy
it.
chases, they'll just chase each other
Oh
through
my
the yard.
gosh.
And I'm like,
That's it.
you don't
There
need to
go.
play fetch.
Yeah.
You just need to connect with the dog.
Mhm.
That's all the dog wants.
Yep. And they crave it.
They do.
Dogs, like
they
if there's
need it.
one person in the house that they don't get the most attention from, I almost like feel like the dog just like stares at them. Like one day I'm gonna crack you.
Or
What do
what's
I gotta
wrong
do?
with you?
Yeah.
Look at this face.
Look at it.
I'm adorable.
Let me roll over. What about now?
Well, let's talk about the difference between pet owners and pet parents because
Okay.
we're like over 2 hours.
Holy
so
crap. we
I
are.
know almost
Talk
almost 2
about
hours.
dogs and I just won't
Oh,
stop.
me too.
I just
Me-
won't
well,
stop.
I could talk to a doorknob about a church lady. You know,
Same.
I just talk
Same. Yeah.
forever. So
It's perfect for podcasting.
it is.
So my biggest thing, I've always said dog parent. It's just something that even when I was younger, it just made sense to me. And now that I've never really given it a voice because I'm a people pleaser. I don't want to like spark up confrontation, you know?
Yeah.
But this is the one thing that I'm like, you know, if I have to die on any battle, I could go out for this one, I guess, you know, because it's something I truly feel passionate about in like a non-judgmental approach. So what I think dog owner, the term identifying, and this is a rabbit hole. I can go on a rabbit hole for like things that you say out loud are like literally you're speaking it. You're speaking that into existence. And the number one problem with that when you're identifying as a dog owner is what is the responsibility there? Like when you are an owner, there is not really a two-way responsibility. There's more of a, like, what do you own? If, you know, most of the time I ask this question, you own a house, a phone, some shoes, like products. You own things. You could own
A car,
you know, like, and then all of a sudden your dog is thrown in that same lump of things. They're just like, I'm a dog owner.
right?
And that's just been the term that everyone identifies with. I don't even think that you think it through. No one's identifying with it. It's just like that's what people label. It's a good label.
Yeah.
But what I see happen is when you are the owner of something, even if you aren't thinking it through subconsciously, what is happening behind closed doors of your mind
Yeah.
when you're saying you're an owner? You know, if say something happens with your dog and you identify as a dog owner, are you more likely to think of all of the things, check all of the boxes, go and do research, do things that a parent would do for that, you know, person, animal, whatever is in the house being? If you identify as someone as an owner, you're less likely to do that work. You're
Right.
less likely to have the energy behind being someone who is more of a two-way, how do I say this? There's a two-way responsibility there. When you're a parent, you could listen to what someone is saying and react.
Right.
When you're a parent, you have, no matter what the situation is, you're taking, and I think you said earlier, which I loved the way you said it, but you, it's in integrity with you,
Right.
with how you're going to show up for that pet, right?
Right.
But I think when you're a dog owner and you say that aimlessly for everything, when you're going to the vet, dog owner's name, pretty much everything, dog owner, the energy behind all of that when you are faced with a problem is you start to see your dog like anything else you own. Oh, I'll get to that when I get to it.
It's a maintenance issue as opposed to a nurturing issue. Right?
And not so much as like when you say dog owner, people are like, I own this dog, because no one sees their dogs like that anymore. I just think that it's such an old school term that no one has questioned.
Right.
It's just like we started off this conversation. Back in the day, most dogs were outside.
Right.
Now people are like asking for wills for their dog.
Yeah, right?
There's so many things that we're doing. You know, my dogs have a room in my house. I don't have kids. So for everyone that's like, what the fuck? I don't have any kids except for my animals, and they have their own yard. Like the things that we do for our pets. You know, I'm the dog walker. Like I'm only I'm only in your guys' life because I take care of the dogs. Before, that was not a thing.
Right.
You know, I know people that spend more money on me than they do their human nanny.
Right.
And that's amazing for me. But it's crazy sometimes when you think about it.
Yes,
that
it
it's
is.
like, is that really a dog owner? I challenge that a lot, you know, of the thought of back in the day, I see it more. It makes more sense for that lifestyle with how people had dogs outside, threw them scraps. Like they did own the dog.
Yeah.
But I think
The
nowadays
dog was chained up and walked all back and forth on a chain.
yeah, and they're kind of pacing around, and there was no responsibility there.
Right.
There was like you take care of the dog, but there was I wonder why my dog is pacing.
Yeah.
There wasn't any second like that's a responsibility. And I think when you get in the habit of changing the way that you identify on every basis, instead of saying I have anxiety, I'm an anxious person. No, you're not. You're experiencing anxiety in this moment. But if you continue to say that over and over again, you're going to be someone that has anxiety.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same. I kind of take that, and I guess this is an extreme way, but in the same aspect of, I think it's the same thing when you're talking subconsciously and identifying as a dog owner. Does that have any kind of play in your role at the house?
Got it.
Like, is that affecting, even without you knowing, is it affecting how you show up for your dog?
Right.
So
I wonder, that's a really interesting thing to ponder because I don't ever say I own 2 dogs.
Yeah.
I say I have 2 dogs. But having something, I also have a husband and I have 2 children.
Exactly.
I've never thought of myself as an owner.
And I don't think a lot of people do, but I just don't think people challenge that term or challenge that label.
Right.
And I think labels, this year, I've been really looking deeper into a lot of the language I say and a lot of the things that trigger me, like everything that triggers me. I'm like, oh, stop. What is that? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I really think it through. And I think it's the same thing with this is like, I've always said dog parent, and I've always been like, oh, people are going to call them whatever. It never has bothered me. I've never said anything about it. But just this last couple of months, I was just like, this is my opinion. Maybe I should just say it. And if people like it, maybe they'll like it and maybe they won't. But either way, I think it's like a great way to stop and think, well, is this something I identify as? Like some people don't want to call themselves dog owner after that. They'll be like, no, I am a dog parent. But some people could care less. Like that's fine too. You don't have to identify as anything for anyone else.
Right.
It's just more so of like, think about it. Which one do you? Do you see yourself as an owner, or do you see yourself more as like a parent? And I get the challenge a lot. It's like, they're not your kids. Blah, blah. That's a lot of people have that. Like, stop trying to treat dogs like they're kids. And like, that's a whole other conversation on its own. Why I didn't bring it up for so long, but I'm like, that's more of an exaggeration. Like, obviously, people aren't saying it's the exact same thing. You can parent different things,
Yes.
And I think that's just where my approach comes from is I'm not saying just because I'm identifying as a dog parent that I've gone through the same walks of life, that the struggles that parents do, because I haven't. I have pets. I can put him in a playpen and leave if I want to.
Yeah, right.
It's different. But I think that the energy behind it is definitely something to look deeper into.
Right.
And that's really where I've come. And I did this all subconsciously. I was like, why do I even call myself a dog parent? Like, what's wrong with you?
It's because of that wolf and spirit animal. Wolf, bullet, power animal. What's it called?
Yeah, power animal.
I had a shaman told me what my spirit animal was a long time ago, but I've never heard of the power animal thing. I had a red-tailed hawk, but it was a long time ago.
That's really, I have hawk as my spirit animal, which is more different parts of your life that could come about. But hawks are incredible, very strong messenger, like mother, like they're the ones that come to you if something is going to happen. Like they'll come to you and be the messenger. Like if you have not death, because that's an owl, that's a whole other thing. But like hawks are very much so of like the strongest, like definitely the strongest spirit animal that you could have.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in my 20s when that person told me that.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me like a card about that animal. And then I just suddenly started seeing, I don't know if they were red tail.
Mm-hmm.
He said specifically
red tail,
a red tail hawk.
Those are my favorite.
I don't know what that means, why specifically, but I kept seeing hawks everywhere. And my whole life I go, oh, there's a hawk. There's a hawk. There's a hawk. And I've told my kids, I didn't know your spirit animal could change. I thought
for spirit animals, they can.
They
Power
change,
animals stays throughout your life.
I wonder what mine is.
Mm-hmm.
How
and
do you find
shamans
out?
should be able to tell you through a medicine man.
Right.
And usually you'll know, like they'll come to you. It's like a reoccurring animal that you always see throughout your life.
All right. Well, maybe mine's a hawk. I see them all the time.
So that would
I've
probably
always
be more
seen
of a
them.
power animal. And say for some reason hummingbirds like
start showing up
for 2 years. That would be more of your spirit
Ah,
animal. And
I
it's not
see.
just like showing up, but like more so of like there's like a weird connection or vibe where you're like, this hummingbird knows my language. Like,
Yeah,
you're just
right?
like, here it is again.
Like
And
Mona.
that would be more of a
Hello, I'm here. Pause on the chest. Pause on the
yeah.
chest.
There it is.
Mona.
Yeah. That would be more of a spirit animal, but a hawk, I could totally see that.
He's got something to say.
So it says the spiritual meaning of the red-tailed hawk
There
is
it is.
part of the role for the individual beside whom red-tailed hawk flies is that of guardian of the Mother Earth.
Mhm.
Oh.
These are individuals who will possess an astute awareness of the concept of the interconnectedness of all things and will have an inner reverence for all life.
Nice.
They're
Pretty cool.
big
Thank you,
messengers,
Halston.
too.
So,
That's awesome. I almost forgot he was back there.
he is awesome. He is awesome. Last thing I want to ask you.
Yes.
Have you seen The Biggest Little Farm?
No.
Oh my
What is
God.
that?
Courtney.
Oh no. It's my day off today.
This is
You
your homework, okay?
Okay.
Anybody listening, this is
Biggest
your
Little
homework.
Farm.
The Biggest Little Farm is a documentary
Okay.
that was shot by a man who used to be a cinematographer for like Discovery Channel.
Mm-hmm.
He and his wife was a personal chef, lived in Santa Monica, adopted a dog. Dog was having serious separation anxiety, and they
Mhm.
thought, we made a commitment to this dog. We can't just give him away. We can't fix the separation anxiety. They tried
Mhm.
everything. Why don't we try to pursue our dream of having a farm?
Oh gosh.
What would that look like? And they did.
In LA or
It's in Moore Park.
Oh my goodness.
And you can go visit this farm.
No way.
And here's what's amazing about this farm. It's called natural farming.
Uh-huh.
And the concept of natural farming is that you kind of create an ecosystem.
Mhm.
Instead of having like, we grow avocados and strawberries. You create an entire ecosystem that supports each other. So
I
you
love that.
have bees,
Mhm.
you allow the coyotes because they're
Mhm.
part of the natural ecosystem. This is exactly the way my grandparents ran their farms.
This is a dream.
I did not know that that's how my grandparents farmed
Mhm.
until I didn't know that it was a thing
Yeah.
until I watched this documentary.
Wow.
And this way of farming is dying.
This
like
is gonna be
nobody
dangerous
knows
for
how
me.
to do it. Courtney, I thought about you. I've seen the movie twice now, and I thought she's already seen it.
No, I haven't.
Every time I thought she's already seen
I
this
have
movie. I'm
not.
sure. Okay, you have to.
Oh my
Watch it.
goodness. This is going to be me because just last year, I believe, we got a property in Reseda Ranch, and that's why we have so many animals. We went there with 4 dogs, and now we have 23 animals.
What?
Because I'm like,
Because you have chickens too.
we have chickens, we have
rabbits.
bunnies, guinea pigs, we have a foster dog most of the year. And that's pretty much where I am. I was like, my whole life I wanted a farm. Like that was my main dream. Like,
Yeah.
and I live in LA, and I believe in manifestation. That's a whole other thing. So we manifested the shit out of this house.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
anyone goes to our property, they're like, how do you guys have this? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't
we
know, but it's
do.
working. It's working. We're keeping
is
it.
huge. And I'm like, I just want to fill it.
Yeah.
I want to fill it. And then there's cats that come. I was like, these are our cats. They're not our cats, but this is part of the neighborhood, so we're gonna stick to it.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to see what this is because this is a good excuse. This is
It is an amazing story.
yeah. Oh my god. Is
It's
it on
an amazing
Netflix?
story.
What is it on?
I don't remember. I think we watched it on iTunes.
iTunes. Okay.
But it's probably everywhere.
I
I
have
watched
all
it
the-
first time on the plane home from Cleveland.
Oh
And on the plane I've got to show this to George and Isla.
oh
And
my
I keep asking them
goodness.
to watch it, and Georgia, no interest at all. And then finally one day, Georgia was somewhere. I think she was at Universal with her friends. And Isla
Mhm.
said, "Can we watch that movie?" And Isla was like in knots the
Oh
whole
my
movie. She was like,
gosh.
"This is amazing. This is so amazing.
What do
This
they
is
have?
just
Like
amazing."
pigs and llamas?
It's a
and-
full farm.
my
No llamas, but they have
gosh.
cows, pigs, sheep. They have sheep
I
dogs
love
that
it.
watch the sheep. The
Mhm.
Great Pyrenees dogs that live in the sheep.
You know what's
fence.
actually funny as a last little thing? Nika is she's the one that I got on a reservation. I found her. She's my only dog I've got as a puppy. And she's the one who attacks my little dogs. She's dog unpredictable. I don't say she's dog. She's just not
aggressive.
predictable at all.
She's just unpredictable.
Yeah, she can be friendly, but she's just totally unpredictable. And she doesn't give the signs. But she's my only dog who's friendly with all my animals. like my chicken. She could be
Because
out
she's
there.
a border
she's a working
collie,
dog.
isn't she? Yeah, that's
She
why.
just needed a damn job.
Something else to say. She needs a job. What
Yeah.
else do you have to say, Helson?
You can go to apricotlanefarms.com to see pictures or like to get to the documentary and to take tours and stuff of this farm.
Oh my
Yeah, I want to take a
goodness.
tour.
I
guess
down.
they're overrun with tours now, and they are doing tours by lottery only.
Oh, that makes
So
sense.
I keep meaning to
Oh my
put my name in the lottery. But
goodness.
the first time I watched this documentary, the whole time I was going, wait, that's what my grandparents did. Wait a minute. That's what my grandparents did. The whole film.
Wow.
The second time I watched it, it was all I could do not to cry.
Yeah.
It was all I could do not to cry. And I was like, I can't cry through this movie because I was just going to watch me cry.
Yeah.
I need her to watch the movie. And I kept going, I can't believe that I was so lucky to have experienced what they've created with my grandparents.
No, I
It's
have
amazing.
to acknowledge you because I have been nonstop just gobbling up knowledge about dogs, gobbling up.
Yeah.
And for like over a decade. And you are right there. You
Oh,
really have
thanks.
so much information and knowledge and intuition, just all of it with
Oh, that's
with
nice
pets.
of you
And
to say.
it really shows with that. And also, obviously, since we're ending, I also want to acknowledge how great of a mom you are. I mean, I'm not
Aw.
one to say, but
Well,
your energy is just really incredible, Leanne. Like,
Thank
it really
you.
is. Just like the way you show up on a daily basis, it has been a dream of mine to be on this podcast. So
no
thank
way.
You so
Why
mu-
didn't you tell
No,
me?
it was a bucket list because I earned shit.
Yeah, but I mean,
You asked me and I
could've
was like,
just-
there it is, there it is.
There it came. It came. Well, thank you for saying that. You know,
You are incredible.
well, thank you.
really
That's
are.
very sweet of you to say. It's
I
been.
second that motion.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
She
It's
gonna
very
blush.
uncomfortable for me, but at the same time, it was very hard earned.
Mhm.
It was not an overnight or easy process.
Mhm.
10 years ago, I don't think I was this spectacular.
It's obvious you've really done the inner work, and it's so
have.
important for people to do that. Even for dog parenting, you know, you're not going to
Yes.
get anything that you want in life if you don't do that inner work. Everything is a reflection of you. The way you see everything is just
I agree.
It's the color of your goggles.
And you know, the number one preventer of that kind of movement and change is ego.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
If you can just set
Mhm.
aside your ego and say, and be willing to be wrong
Mm-hmm.
and to be willing to make a mistake,
Yep.
to be the fool
Yep.
for the greater good and focus on the greater good. What is the greater good? That
Mhm.
should be the question you ask for everything you do, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Yep.
What's the greater good?
I have a good trick for the ego thing that
What
I
is
learned a
it?
couple weeks. I don't remember what podcast, but I heard it on the Ed Milat podcast. Someone else gave it to him. So I'm so sorry I forgot the name. But he said, name your ego. So whoever you are showing up as that person, give it a characteristic.
That's
something
a great
crazy.
idea.
And then also, so that's your anti-self.
Yeah,
Name it.
yeah.
Give it a weird name like dickhead or something. You know?
yeah.
And then name your perfect, like who you truly want to show up as, and have the two names, and then tell your family and your friends those names, and then say you're being dickhead that one day, and your husband could be like, you're really being that dickhead right now. Like, or you have a name on it and you're like, oh, I'd rather show up as Superwoman if
Yeah.
that's the other name
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you give, the other characteristic. You have an anti-self and your
Yeah.
best self.
We have that in
Name
our
it.
house. I
Yeah?
didn't know it. You know what it is?
Oh my God, I'm so curious.
We have two of them. One is poo poo pants. Someone's being poo poo
That's good. And you sing it too, which makes
Just
it
like
so
that.
light. Yeah.
And then the other one is victim, Victoria.
I've heard this
Victoria,
on one of your other,
Victim, Victoria. But poo poo pants is like an anthem.
Yeah.
Someone's being poo poo pants.
Yep, that's good. Because then
Which-
you can name it and you're like, oh, I'm being poo-poo pants right now. I really
Yes.
shouldn't.
That's right. And then, you know, I do
your
name myself
ego.
Myrtle. Because Myrtle is when I'm tired of hearing mom
Yeah.
and I no longer am responding to mom.
Yep.
You have to call me Myrtle
That's
because
so
Myrtle makes me
funny.
laugh. And then I go, okay, I'm being
All
a little
right.
bit okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little overwrought. Maybe I need to just take a chill.
See, there you
So
go.
if they're calling me Myrtle, they're
Yep.
basically saying, Mom, you've moved into bitch mode.
Yeah.
So if Myrtle comes out, I go, okay, I need to take a step back.
Yep. There it is.
That's a really great concept, though, to name your ego
'Cause
and name your
ego
best
is it.
self.
Yeah, it really is
brilliant.
the one that's going to do it. And for ego, that's going to do it for your dog too. If you're just like, I did everything that I could and the dog isn't.
That's true.
Is it? Did you do? Or is that your ego screaming at you.
But see, to me, because levity is so important to me for healing.
Yeah.
I would have to name them something funny like Myrtle.
Yeah.
And
to bring
Poo-poo
you
Pants.
out of that weirdness.
To snap you out of it. So if anybody's thinking, don't name them like Steve and Ron.
No.
Unless you think Steve and Ron are hysterical names.
No, you have to have something where you even bring light to it for yourself. Like,
yes,
even
exactly.
if no one else is around, like you could, like I'm looking at that picture right now and he's like, dickhead.
Oh, right, dickhead.
Yeah, but like that, like make it something funny so that you could bring yourself out of a funk. Like even if something is procrastination, like it's not ego. Like I hate when I procrastinate and I hate when I don't respond to people when I should have responded. And then say someone text messages you. That's my thing. I hate being on my phone. Like I'm like when I'm home, I don't want my phone anywhere near me. I don't know how I'm 27 in Los Angeles, but I'm like, I don't want to be on my phone. But for me, it's like, okay, well, the person who I want to be, my best self, shows up for everyone that I care about. So am I being my anti-self, or okay, maybe I should be this person? Like it's easy for no matter, even if it's not ego, it's easy for you to say, okay, who am I showing up with right now? And when you have a funny name to it, you almost want to bring that out all the time.
Yeah,
you
right.
want to talk about it. So that's one of my favorite hacks. I just learned it like a few months ago, and it has been life-changing.
Has
for
it
me
really?
Every day.
It's amazing how simple hacks. I was just with Kathy yesterday because she made, I don't know if you've listened to this episode, but my friend Kathy has been making our corporate Christmas baskets for all Bert's businesses because she wants to get into the corporate Christmas basket business or like baked good basket business. She did a great job.
That's
and we delivered them all yesterday. And she just said to me, you know that 888 thing you said a long time ago, one of my very first podcasts, I had read a book
Is this
about
like
sleep.
the time, like schedule your times into 8-hour chunks?
Yeah, no, it's like how you compartmentalize in your brain. I have 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for work, 8 hours for whatever I want.
Okay.
So you may think Girl Scouts is a pain in the ass, but that really goes in the 8 hours of whatever I want.
Okay.
Whereas delivering gift
that's so
baskets
good.
is part of my work. So going to Pilates is part of whatever I want.
Yeah.
So just being able to reframe, because then I go, I don't want to go to Pilates. I don't have time to go to Pilates. What am I doing? I'm wasting my time. But when I can compartmentalize it and go, no, actually that goes into the 8 hours of whatever I want.
Oh my, I've heard you talk about this before. I didn't get it. That is genius.
It's genius.
Oh my
So
gosh.
Kathy, who is one of my closest friends, but love you, Kathy. She rarely,
Delilah?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She rarely says stuff to me like, this really inspired me. And she said that has been one of the most important things she's learned is to be able to just sit down and go, no, actually, I volunteered to do this. So this stuff, I don't get to complain.
Yeah.
This
I
goes
really
into whatever
like
I want.
that.
I love it.
I really like that. That's good.
But naming the ego and the good and the bad, it goes in that same handbag of tools.
Because even for triggers, I mean, I know we were wrapping up, Jesus.
I know, right? The 45-minute wrap up.
Yeah.
Right.
But for triggers, you can do that as well. Like, okay, what's triggering me right now? Is it this person or is it that person?
Right.
And if it is this person that's in the right, my best self, what really is happening here?
Right.
I use that for that as well.
That's really smart because if it's triggering your best self, then you know something's really off.
And if it's triggering your not so best
your
self,
poo-poo
then
pants.
you're just feeding that. You're just feeding the monster.
You're feeding the poo-poo. Well, I enjoyed this so much.
I did too. Thanks for having me.
You have to come back again.
I'm excited.
Talk about being adopted.
I know.
Talk about your heritage. I have Cherokee, even though
I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
the genetic testing thing.
Oh, have you done one of those? I need to do one.
They say I have none.
Really?
But I have photographs.
We don't gotta believe
I've
that.
got two grandmother, great that I have pictures of.
Yeah.
So I go, well, that it may not be in my blood, but she's definitely, in my blood somehow.
It's so funny. People always want African American and then Native American in there. They're like, at least give me like 1% so I have like street cred or something.
I know, right? I don't know why. Why? What does it do for you? I think it's more about your belief system. I always believed until I got that test that my connection to animals was because I had Cherokee.
Yeah.
A Cherokee from both families.
I put that on that.
I mean, that's what I thought. I just assumed. And the dark eyes and Isla's got the same dark eyes, same connection to animals. I'm like, it's our Cherokee.
Yeah, it's in our blood.
It's our Cherokee. It doesn't show up on the test
believe
result, but
Yeah.
I have photographs. It's in there.
Yeah, they missed it.
But
didn't want
I
you
would
to
love
know.
to talk about your experience of being Native American
Yeah,
because
I
it's
love
something I've
that.
always been curious about. and always felt connected to because I've always seen those pictures of these women that are in my heritage.
I would love to. And there's so much beyond that with like energy and just like how we show up and just how to continue living in the city with those roots. I think that's my biggest struggle. So I would love to chat.
Yeah,
about
we'll do that. So we'll come back another time. Thank you
Yay.
so much.
Of course. Thank
and
you.
Not to leave without complimenting you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because you are a pretty spectacular person. I
Thank
thought you looked 24.
Oh yeah, I'm very.
But I thought you were about 35 in who you are.
Oh yeah.
So when you just said you were 27, I almost fell out of my chair.
You met me when I was 24. You were right on the money.
That's insane.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I was just talking to Tony this last weekend is I've always been very mature for my age.
Yeah.
And
were you born an old lady?
Oh yeah, and I was raised by one too, and I'm a Capricorn, so like I've just
shit,
yeah, I'm just
you have
like
the trifecta,
totally just like that's why I was like my mind doesn't stop, like I really mean it. But that's just how I am. I've been very very mature for my age, so I've always gotten that. But this is the first year where I'm not getting it. I'm like, oh, I'm getting older,
or maybe you're just growing into. That's what happened for me. Is that my mom used to say I was born an old lady. She used to say, I don't understand how you're an old lady and a teenager at the same time.
Yeah.
But now I'm not an old lady, but I'm definitely I'm aging into myself.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, so it's nice.
Yeah.
Trust me. Because now you go, oh, everyone's catching up.
Yeah.
Now I have more friends than I've ever had because we're all on the same place. Whereas before I'd be like, why are you stressing about that? I don't know why you're stressing about that. That's stupid.
Because my problem was all my friends have the vagina on their heads, like you were saying.
Oh, the vagina hat.
It's like, I'm too mature for this shit.
Yeah, right? My vagina stays in my vagina.
Yeah,
right?
So that's why I was just like, maybe married, women and stuff like that are my tribe because they're,
they were definitely mine.
They're not chasing things.
They were definitely mine.
Yeah.
The
so
more settled woman. And maybe it's not marriage. They just all happen to be married, but they're all more settled in who they are.
Yeah.
Some questions answered perhaps, but this was really great. It was great to talk to you because we talked so briefly and always about dogs
this morning, and it just flew by because I was like, I'm going to say something stupid.
Everybody always thinks that, and
like
nobody ever does.
It's like, what? That's not normal for you? Duh! I'm always saying something stupid.
Don't we all? And
it's part of who you are.
It's part of who you are, and it's part of I think what I wanted to create in this podcast was a real conversation.
Yes.
And we can't have a real conversation if you go, so today on Wife of the Party, we have Courtney.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me, how do they find your podcast?
Oh, yes. So you can find my podcast on every platform you listen. Thank Dog It's Friday, or on my website as well. But
what's your website?
wolfiecourt.com. So that's me.
I've never what?
WOLFY Court. So like wolf with a Y. WOLFYCOURT.com. And then if you're looking for like Dog Squad, dog walking in LA, that's Dog Squad LA.
Dog Squad LA.
Everything on wolfiecourt.com, and on my social media, it's Dog Squad LA. And you're going to see so many happy butts, so many dogs.
You'll see 3 of my happy butts.
All of them. Yep.
They're
always in my stories. Everyone's obsessed with Priscilla. I mean, for obvious reasons.
She's pretty special dog.
She's a star. Yeah.
She's pretty special.
They're like, show me more of Priscilla. I'm like, but what about all the other dogs like Priscilla? I'm like, do you want me to start a Priscilla account?
I know, right? She's pretty special, I have to say. She's a really special dog. I think the Izzy has been a double-edged sword for her.
She's a cute little mama.
She's a cute mama too, but she's not Priscilla.
Yeah. She's her own. She's growing into herself today. She's like looking like an adult now.
She is. Look how skinny my husband looks.
I know.
We're just wrapping up.
We're just talking about you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let me finish. Okay. Thank you, Courtney.
Of course.
Thank you. So we'll figure out another time and do it again soon.
I'm excited. Let's
right.
do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.